What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 155. It is a lovely Saturday morning here, and we've got a hell of a show to you today with a great cast. So we are going to get into it. I'm your host, Ainsley Bowden, and with me, as always, my friend Dan Rodriguez, going with banana-focused potassium approach today, I see.
Yep. It's all about the health, people.
Health as well. Health as well.
Yeah, exactly, man. Make sure you have that balance somewhere. You know, ding-dongs, Twinkies, bananas, and Diet Dr. Pepper. Actually, I have that, and also Dr. Pepper Coke Zero, not a sponsor. So we are ready to go. Ready to go today, man.
You doing all right?
I'm good. I'm a little. It's Saturday. It's raining, which is normal. Apparently,
it's been raining for like a week and a half.
It's been weird. Yeah, this sucks. I mean, it just needs to stop. This is getting ridiculous. So, yeah, I'm good. Good.
Very good. Welcoming back to the show, a Bitcast regular, and he's actually awake today. And guys, he escaped the vault. He did it. He made it out. He's here. Mr. Luke Lohr, the Insipid Ghost, host of the Xbox Expansion Pass, back with us. What's happening, my friend?
Cheers, everybody. Thank you for having me back. I appreciate it. Quick shout out to those of you who showed up to the Cast Co-op premiere yesterday. I apologize. I absolutely did sleep through that. It was generally just a long week. I wrapped up, and this is kind of cool. 10 years of teaching. I wrapped up my 10th year with students yesterday.
Nice, congrats.
So it was just an emotionally long day and long year, and so I kind of ended up just crashing by accident. But thank you to all of you for being there, and thank you guys for having me back here. It's great to see Miles again, one of my favorite content creators out there. Dan, I am worried about you a few years from now.
Listen, I live a great life. I can't complain about a single thing. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to go down in flames. That's the way I look at it.
All right, guys. The first thing he complains about today, I need to call him out.
Yeah. Just make it, just everybody have some kind of dessert behind you, like a tiramisu. That sounds actually really good right now. So, I know what
creme
I'm doing
brulee,
after this.
Man. If you're going to pick one, go creme brulee.
Nah, you know what? Ben & Jerry's makes a great tiramisu ice cream. Not to get off topic, but it's fantastic. I've got two giant things of it in my fridge for after the show. But
hashtag not an ad.
Yeah. Also not an ad. Yeah.
Joining us for the first time, friend of the show from Windows Central Gaming and all of our friends over there is Mr. Windows Central YouTube himself, Miles Dompier.
Oh, there we are. I like the pronunciation. I was joking with the guys before I went live, but depending who I'm trying to cater to, that's how I pronounce it. If I'm got a hardcore American crowd, I'm going Dompier. But if I'm trying to feel fancy, I do Dompier. Because that is technically correct, but growing up in high school, my name was always butchered. Last name was always butchered. Got a lot of Dompers, and I'm like, come on.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
But I laugh. But if we want to talk about getting names butchered in high school, try being Ainsley for a day. It's always fun. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and jump into it. But first, Miles, first time guest. So real quick, man, want to talk through kind of your gaming history. What brought you to this point? Brought you to Windows Central? What kind of kicked off gaming for you in your life, man?
It all started 30 years ago. I tell the story a lot, but my very first interaction with a video game ever was The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past on Super Nintendo.
Oof, great one.
So I was at my aunt's house. I saw the poster on the wall of the map of Hyrule, and I was like, what is that? What is that? And she's like, oh, that's Zelda. I'm like, what's Zelda? And so she busts out the SNES, hooks it up. I play it, and I'm like, this is what video games are? This is blowing my mind. So from that point on, I harassed my parents until I got a SNES at home, and that kind of set everything in motion for me. So in retrospect, it was pretty wild that the first game I ever played is one of the greatest games ever made. So set the bar pretty high. And then from there, I've jumped around. I've been a PlayStation loyal, PS1 absolutely loved. Fell in with Xbox more so as I got older and got more socially focused with gaming.
Yeah.
Halo LAN parties back in the day.
Yes.
Hunter the Reckoning sleepovers. That was my jam in my preteens and teens. And then, from there, it's just kind of grown. It's always been a passion. And then it's something in recent years that I've been kind of pursuing more professionally. So I do video stuff over for Windows Central Gaming right now.
Yeah, no, we were talking about it before we went live, of course, but yeah, just quick congrats on that, man, because the growth is fantastic, the quality is fantastic, and so it's well deserved, and you guys just keep killing it over there. So congrats.
Yeah, man,
no, I really appreciate that.
Shout out to your ASMR videos.
Yeah.
Awesome. Like when the first one came out, I was like, "This is the most fantastic thing I've ever seen." It was so good, so good.
It's definitely a cult video in the Windows Central Gaming lore, but the OGs know about gamer ASMR.
Oh man!
And if you don't, then do some digging and treat yourself to that.
Yeah, I saw it. I was like, "What in the hell?" Oh yeah. It did me some good, Got me through some rough passes.
Good. That was the intention. Everyone needs a little gamer ASMR in some trying times. So,
right, bud.
No doubt. So, hit us real quick with your what's your favorite franchise of all time or game of all time? Either one.
Favorite franchise of all time? I'm picking one right here. Oh, goodness gracious. That is incredibly difficult.
That's the point.
Okay. I guess if I'm picking one right now, favorite gaming franchise of all time is probably Dark Souls.
Okay. All right.
Big Castlevania fan. For me, Dark Souls was kind of the evolution of the Metroidvania formula. I love it. The
I
difficulty.
remember you and I going back on Twitter about how good Dark Souls 3. It's just one of the all-time greats in my opinion.
Dark Souls 3, one of the greatest RPGs ever made, hands down.
Yeah.
Better than Bloodborne.
That's what I was asking.
Agree.
I had that question.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
First off, Dark
close.
Souls or Bloodborne is not a bad game at all. I love Bloodborne because people get very upset when I say that Dark Souls 3 is a better game than Bloodborne.
It is.
But that's just the reality that we live in. I'm sorry.
Miles, I want to take a moment to interrupt Danes and say it's very nice to hear some truth being spoken about Bloodborne. Mediocre,
Yeah.
Don't put that in my mouth.
No,
I'm going to be butchered.
Your words.
Yeah, I'm clipping this and I'm going to edit it a little bit, but
Bloodborne is fantastic. There.
No, that's not getting clipped.
We have a mutual fan. We have a mutual friend, Ish, that is a diehard
He's an acquaintance
of Bloodborne. A work acquaintance at that.
Yeah.
He is I believe the kids call him a stan for Bloodborne.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is he primarily a PlayStation person?
He
is,
is.
And there's clear bias there.
Absolutely.
I won't say anything else, but I see a correlation. But
you get it. You get it.
Not even here to defend himself. We need a pop
He's in the
like
chat.
last
We're
week.
just
He's in the
ignoring
chat.
it.
We needed the pop in like last week. Just a little.
Chat, what's going on, man? Good to see everyone. Thanks for coming out. So funny enough, then let's get to what we're currently playing, but I'll come back to one of our topics because I'm interested to hear your thoughts, Miles. But currently playing, guys. So I know we wanted to touch on Luke. You wanted to touch on Resident Evil Village, and we've got Miles, who apparently has played it more than any human being on the rest of the earth. So let's go ahead and talk through it. You said you beat it, Luke. So we talked the other night, and you hadn't beat it yet, and we were talking about the differences between 7 and 8.
Yeah.
And I personally think 8 is better than 7 as an overall game. But where are you at now that you finished it?
I absolutely love Resident Evil 8. Without a doubt, I love it. I think 7 is better at what 7 tries to do, and 8 is better at what 8 tries to do. And the comparison it is a cop-out, but one that I'm comfortable making now that I've beaten it. And after our discussion on Cast Co-op, which is live, and I hope you all will check out. It's really the Alien and Aliens comparison.
It
really is.
That was a good analogy.
It really is. I mean, Resident Evil 7 is Alien, slower pace, more methodical, more horror based, and Resident Evil 8 Village is Aliens. I mean, it's more action based, a lot more shooting involved. The gameplay mechanics in both are wonderful at what they try to do. I would, if I was to replay either of them, it would be 8. And I think after Biomutant and Mass Effect, I probably will. But I really enjoyed 8 and my time with it. I was not scared once, which is interesting. I really was hoping for a bit of.
Look at me! I don't get scared. By
I'm a tough guy.
Oh, I'm so tough. I've been working out.
I have been working out.
Scary. Game got scary, bro.
Resident Evil 7 petrified me. and I was thinking I was going to get more of that, and so it was not that at all. But it's such a great game, such a great game. The one thing that I kind of was bummed about was retreading. I wanted to go back to a few areas that I couldn't get back to unless I made a mistake. And Miles, I think it's one of my questions for you. In booting up my post finishing game 1 save, like typical Resident Evil, you can get all access to all your weapons and whatnot. But is there no way to load an old save and then retraverse the whole game? Or do I need to just play back through to do certain things?
Yeah, so I've played through the game 7 times. I'm on my 8th playthrough right now. And when you're going through a playthrough, there are certain areas of the game that once you finish them, like the castle, that's locked off.
You just can't
go back.
That was exactly my problem. Is I wanted to go back and do a treasure map to get one of the challenges done, and I was like, oh, okay, can't go back and do that. That said, loved it. Still love the experience.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Miles, where are you at on it, man? I mean, were you as big of a fan of 7 as you are now, Village?
Yeah, so for me, RE7 was exactly what Resident Evil needed as a franchise at that time.
Me, I agree.
I love Resident Evil. I even liked 6, despite the fact that it was just the dumbest thing they've ever done. It's still a fun game, fundamentally. Right. RE7 came out, and that floored me in terms of like, this is Resident Evil going back to basics, focusing on horror, focusing on small puzzles, focusing on resource management, and it was incredible. I love, like, for me, the first 80% of Resident Evil 7 is a perfect game. Like, I have no complaints with the first 80%.
Yeah.
Towards the back end, in typical RE fashion, things start to get ridiculous. Things start to fall apart. But mostly, that game is incredible. So for me, Resident Evil Village is a more fun game.
Yeah.
And Resident Evil 7 is a better horror game.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Yeah.
I'm curious if you have the same comparison point for Resident Evil 8's ending, which we will not spoil, to be very clear. But there is a shift in tone at one point towards the latter portion of the game.
Yep.
And I wonder if you think that's akin to what they do in 7 as well.
Yes, it's for me. Again, won't spoil it, but there's a point in Resident Evil 8 where you get to a section, you're like, okay, this is just absurd Resident Evil nonsense again. I mean, the Village at least sets the tone that the game is going to be absurd from the get. Like, you know, it's going to be ridiculous. So it's not as much of a just left hook. Like RE7, that comes out of nowhere, and you're like, oh, this is like a different game now.
Yeah.
RE Village is more ridiculous, so it fits in. But yes, in typical RE fashion, the ending is pretty dumb. It's a pretty dumb ending, and it sets up some things that I'm very unsure about for RE9. But overall, incredible. Best replayability of any Resident Evil game. Like, I've never played through a Resident Evil game that many times at launch, ever. I haven't even played any game that many times at launch. So, yeah, that one's really kind of sunk its hooks into me, and I love it.
So
you
what's
wrote an article
the
about that. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Yes.
Yeah, what's the incentive I'm playing? I mean, for somebody that hasn't played and not going to play, what's the incentive on playing that game over and over? Is it like a new game plus, or is there more stuff to unlock?
It's like Resident Evil's Resident Evil's version of the new game plus. So Miles can certainly explain it the best, I'm sure.
Yeah, so everything you do carries over. All of your weapons, all of your upgrades, all of your items, all of your money carries over every single playthrough. And when you beat the game for the first time, you unlock this list of challenges. And those challenges give you challenge points. And there's this like end game shop. So you can buy new weapons. You can buy unlimited ammo for any weapon that you fully upgrade. So there's this huge list of things you can unlock once you've beaten the game. So every time you do a playthrough, you feel like you're getting something new. Beating it on the harder difficulties unlocks even more weapons. Once you do mercenaries, if you're just a mad lad and you can do double S on every stage of mercenaries, you get a double-sided lightsaber. And you can run through the entire game with a double-sided lightsaber.
Oh, Luke lit up.
I haven't done that because the second half of those mercenary stages are pretty tough, pretty brutal. But yeah, there's just so much to do. And once you get unlimited magnum ammo and you can beat the game, and I beat the game in an hour and 45 minutes. Like, you can just fly through that game, and it's
which speaks to the quality of its design, right? Like the fact that you have this game that is more hub based and you can kind of spend 12. Like my original playthrough was 12 and a half hours because I explore and take my time, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that you can then turn around and beat the same game in an hour and a half is crazy to me. It just speaks to like the design of how well that's implemented.
Yeah, so it's something I can't recommend enough. If you thought RE7 was too scary, this definitely curbs the scares quite a bit. I was still pretty impressed with a few sections of the game. I thought there were a few really well designed, really tense moments. But after the first quarter-ish of the game, that's kind of thrown out the window, I would say. And it's more just balls to the wall, gunslinging action.
Much more action.
So Resident Evil Village is... I was talking about this when I was first playing. It's Resident Evil 4, almost beat for beat in many areas in many ways. And so that made me go back and start replaying Resident Evil 4. And it's obvious that Resident Evil Village was the spiritual successor to Resident Evil 4. Yeah. They mirrored everything about that game to Resident Evil 4, which is a smart move if you're trying to cater to the hardcore Resident Evil fan, because many consider that to be the GOAT. Yeah. So it makes me really curious what they're even going to do with the RE4 remake now after playing Village. But
I would argue that they did a good job of learning from the pacing of RE4, where it dragged. I think RE4 drags a bit in the castle section. I feel like they paced Village very well, very well. Even with its weird outlier section kind of towards the end, pacing was, I thought, wonderful in Village, and it's an incentive for me to replay it all that much more, knowing I can control some of that pacing now with the new kind of upgraded abilities in a new game plus.
Yeah, there's pretty much no section of the game that feels like when you replay it, you're like, because that's with 4. There are definitely parts where it's going to be a slog. As soon as you get Ashley, you're like, okay, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, no doubt. Let me get this super chat real quick from Mo, my brother. My sons, I hope you have a wonderful show, boys. Cheers to everyone watching. I hope you all enjoy your weekends. Dan, still waiting on you. Free the nips.
I'm working on it, man. I'm working on a giant reveal. So, it may be its own video. I don't know yet.
Yeah, that's got to be its own video. Yeah. I mean, charities are going to line up. There's a lot that's going to go into that.
It's insane, the amount of the chat's going to be like, you won't be able to catch up with it. That's how fast. And then it's going to end. It's going to be fantastic.
Thank you, Mo. Appreciate it, brother. Here you go. It's a question for you guys from Brett. What's going on, Brett? Which way will RE9 lean in panel's opinion, action or horror? So will it be more like 7 or more like 8? What do you guys think?
Miles, you go first.
Okay, I was going to say.
I'm just going to say action.
I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, but I'm a little concerned with RE9's direction based on the end of that game. I'm feeling some RE6 vibes coming in hot in terms of like the storytelling and how over the top it could potentially be. I don't know. We don't know. They've done an amazing job. Capcom has been killing it back to back to back, which I've been really impressed by. But what is set up at the end of RE8 makes me very worried when it comes to storytelling. I'll just say that.
I would echo that same concern from a gameplay perspective. And to Miles's point, the Capcom's record with Resident Evil from the 2 remake, from 7 to remake, 3 remake, and now Village is fantastic. The story setup really makes me question just how they'll go about implementing a worthwhile game experience. But it is interesting. I will say that. Of the 2 options, more like 7 or more like 8, I would think it'd be more like 8.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
Based on some of those story beats. And I would imagine 8 will sell better long term. But 7 was no slouch in that respect either. My hope is that with this duality that they're doing with remakes and with 7 and 8, is that they also find a mechanism to give us another 7-like experience while continuing the story. Because there's a lot of ways to explore the world that they've set up. And in fact, I would say the Lycans are very underused in 8 or underexplained. And you could do more horror-wise with them from a different character's perspective. But I was very pleased overall, and I do think we're going to see a more action-based sequel.
Yeah, I think we will too. Although I will say, if you go back, try and forget about Village for a minute, and go back to when you first played 7 and finish that game, right? Would you have ever expected the environment and story of 8? No. I wasn't. I mean, they completely just took that a direction I wasn't expecting at all. So. Who knows what they're going to do with 9? I mean, we know what that ending was like and what they're setting up, but who knows where the hell they take it. I mean, they obviously, with Resident Evil's history, have no problem just going out of left field and saying, here's what happened, deal with it. So I think we'll probably get something like that. Yeah. By the way, Joe is still going on here. I don't know what's going on. He said, are we just going to act like the Bloodborne slander didn't happen?
I mean, it's not slander. It's just, it's
Spitting
fundamental
facts.
principles of game design. I don't know. I didn't make the rules.
Yeah, and Brigadiers took care of them. It's not slander. It's just facts. It is what it is.
And I do think that this is the year where you see the Bloodborne sequel get announced from Sony.
I hope so.
I really do think this is the year where they show something for it. But I will be very upset on that day, only because I like reminding him that if it was so great, they would have made a sequel by now. So I will lose that joking point.
You hit him where it hurts. Hit him where it hurts.
I got
guys, what else you been playing? So
I'm saying.
Last night, no joke. So this Knockout City game came out literally out of nowhere. Launches on Game Pass. You see the trailer for it. You think, oh God, here's another one of those Destruction All Stars, or
Rocket Arena.
Rocket Arena. One of those games where it's like you're going to play it for 5 minutes, you're going to uninstall it, and never think about it again. We played for over 3 hours straight last night. Most of it in a private match, 3-on-3, and I swear it's some of the most fun I've had in a very long time gaming. We were laughing the entire time. So I'm telling you, if you haven't tried this game, and you can jump in, it takes a couple minutes to learn, and you can play a full match in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It's a lot of fun. Any of you try it yet?
Oh yeah, that game is a blast. I went in like you, low expectations. I was like, all right, it's a dodgeball arena, like dodgeball Overwatch. Like what is this? And then I did the tutorial. I'm like, this is Splatoon. This is Splatoon.
It feels like that almost.
And this is a blast. We played, no joke, for like 3 or 4 hours last night, and we made our crew. You can customize your crew, customize your car, have a ridiculous banner, and we were just doing the rocking while also getting rocked. People are way better at that game than I was expecting already. I'm like, wow, there's definitely going to be
a skill gap, right? That skill gap's going to grow and grow as people get a handle on it.
Mm-hmm. So I love it. Yeah, again, if you haven't played it and you have Game Pass, do it. It's a blast.
Yeah, it's surprisingly fun. Luke, Dan, I don't think it's your type of game. You even going to give it a look?
No, I mean, I'm glad everybody's having fun with it. I'm just not. Yeah, I've just never been like a multiplayer guy. So yeah. It looks good though.
Yeah, it's simple, and the mechanics actually work very well, which you need in a jump-in competitive game. But yeah, once people start getting a handle on it, it's kind of funny. Freaking Mo in the chat over here, he's throwing like curveballs. He's throwing up in the air and curving down. Like, I should have done the whole training, man. Should have done the whole training. He was pulling shit out I didn't know how to do. Yeah. Luke, I take it by your silence, you haven't touched it.
I have not touched it yet. It is downloaded. I am excited for it. I did try Rocket Arena to the reference earlier, and I had a decent amount of fun with it. I mean, it was fun for a short amount of time, right? It doesn't age well, and it gave me those vibes. But hearing you guys say that is encouraging, and I'm thinking that Joe, myself, and Kevin will boot it up and have a go with it for sure. It's funny though; these 3-player games are limiting versus some of the 4-player games, because we've had a few of them come out lately. Second Extinction, most recently, I think, was the other one. And I'm running into issues where with certain groups, I cannot play the games that we want to unless it's a 4-player one with certain groups, and I'm having to be very choosy. But the way you said private matches and that they're working well, and I hear crossplay is immaculate in its launch state, which is great to hear. I'm anxious to try this one, and I would imagine we chat about it on next cast co-op, because launching a crossplay game is an important thing to do.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we played 3-on-3 private, like I said, for hours last night, and you don't get any progression in private, but we didn't even care, man. It was so much fun. So nice. Yeah, definitely check it out. You can't go wrong, right? Game Pass as usual. Just give it a try. You like it? If not, no big deal, right? Sweet. Want to talk? I can't, but quick shout out on Biomutant. Playing the crap out of it. I'm already playing New Game Plus. It's can't really say anything, but just stay tuned. The embargo is up Monday morning at 10 a.m. Central, whatever that is for you. Really, really excited to talk about it. I have a review. That's Central Time, Luke. Central Time, by the way.
No one knows what it is.
Can't do the conversion. It's too confusing.
I gotta Google it.
So review will be up then. A whole list of tips will be up that, trust me, you're going to want to read before you jump in, because I've learned a lot the hard way, and a lot of other stuff, all spoiler free. So be sure to tune in Monday morning for that, or be on the lookout for it. All right. So we were talking about Dark Souls and its lesser kind of From Software title, Bloodborne. Did you guys see this week? Let's get into the weekly stuff. Did you guys see this Lies of P trailer, which is a Souls-ish game based on the dark story of Pinocchio? Which, when I first read that, I'm like, what in the hell are we talking about here? And then I actually watched the trailer, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm in. I'm in. Just, if it plays well, I'm in. So did you guys check this out?
I have no clue what you're talking about, except that I'm Googling it while you...
If only we had it on show notes that were sent like 2 hours ago. That would have been convenient.
I was watching Army of the Dead.
Is that out now? Great.
Lies of P is the most absurd concept for a video game I've seen in years. I didn't even think it was real when I saw it making the rounds on Twitter. I'm like, a Souls-like Pinocchio game? What? So, and I Googled it, found the trailer, watched it, and this team was like, we love Bloodborne. Bloodborne's dope. We want to remake Bloodborne, but we legally can't. So what if we made Bloodborne, but we made the main character Pinocchio? And that is the vibe of that trailer. Really dark, really gritty, has the epic monologue of Geppetto carrying the lugging briefcase of Pinocchio into this desecrated building. And
looks straight out of Souls, too. I mean, it looks straight out.
They were not shy about just plagiarizing the From Software trailer formula to the T. And I'll play any Souls-like. It doesn't have to be good. I'll at least dabble. I hope this is good. It sounds dumb. It sounds incredibly dumb, but I'm here for it. Let's go. More weird games.
This is one hell of a trailer.
Dude, and wait till the music kicks in at the end, and it sounds just like a Souls or Bloodborne boss battle. I was like, oh my God, dude, they're nailing it. So it's really, as you know, right, it's really going to be about the feel of the game. If they can nail the mechanics, kind of the level design, then they're gonna, I think they're really gonna have something, because as we know, when a Souls-like is done well, there's a big audience out there for those games, far bigger than I think people realize, right? So I'm pumped for it. I watched it, I was like, oh my God, I'm hyped up over a Pinocchio game. What the hell's happening?
Yeah, shout out to Lies of P. If you haven't watched the trailer, treat yourself. It's a little slow, I will admit. Like the first 30 seconds to a minute's kind of slow, but it's a thing that exists, and it wasn't something that was on my 2021 bingo card. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, the whole premise of it sounds awesome, and then you're like, "Hey, it's Souls-ish." I'm like, "Oh, okay, awesome. Another game I won't play." It looks so good that I want to play. That it's not going to happen. But you know what? I mean, I'm all about if you take these kind of Disney-ish characters and kind of turn them on their heads, put them in like a little dark, background setting. I mean, it sounds like it could be really, really awesome or terrible. So it's I don't think it's going to sit anywhere in the middle. But I'm also excited for people to try it out. I feel like I'm going to say that a lot coming up between this and Resident Evil. I don't even know what else we're talking about. So.
I'm on board either way. If it's amazing, yes. If it's terrible, yes. I'm going. I like terrible horror movies. I love a good terrible game. Like I'll support it. So either way, I'm on board. Yeah, I'm on board just for the concept alone. I saw so many people cringing when that was making the rounds. Like, a Souls-like Pinocchio? Why? What have we done to deserve this? And I was like, we don't deserve this. I mean, we don't deserve a Souls-like Pinocchio.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's like, well, I mean, if you read the developer comments, I guess it's the creative director spoke, he just gave kind of a quote on it. He basically said, we've always seen the tale of Pinocchio as much darker as it was. He said something like originally intended, like Pinocchio and the whole lie telling is more of a metaphor for humanity and, lying to get through their lives. And he kind of touched on all this. And he's like, we've always wanted to just portray it as a dark story. So sounds crazy. But to your point, Miles, it doesn't even have to be a great game. As long as it's okay to play, like it's not broken, right? I'm in. I'll definitely give it a shot.
Let's go.
Yeah. So cool. All right. So let's, guys, there wasn't a whole lot of news this week just because, as Miles and I were joking before the show, lips are starting to tighten up before we get to E3 and Summer Game Fest and all these things. So But there are a lot of kind of rumblings and kind of thoughts and things that are coming out about Summer Game Fest and E3 and what's going to happen. We did get some news about different publishers, developers, what have you this week. Miles, I know you did a video just a couple days ago on what we might see at Xbox's stage with, obviously Starfield was the huge topic this week. But, there's Hellblade 2 and all this other stuff. So let's go ahead and talk through some of that. That's what we're going to spend the bulk of our conversation on. So Jeff Keighley came out this week, formally kind of announced Summer Game Fest and the plans for it. He listed some of the companies that they're working with. So it kicks off on June 10th, and it's going to kick off before E3. It'll kind of kick off the big celebration, if you will. And I've got here the brands listed, or I say brands, but the partners. So, a lot of it is similar to E3 and what the ESA is working with. But most interesting, of course, is that PlayStation is here and showing up in Summer Game Fest, whereas they're not showing up in E3. The other thing I found really interesting here is if you look in the top left is Amazon Games is not only sponsoring the event, but they are partners to supposedly show something at the event. Now, no idea, obviously, what the hell that's going to be or what their plans are, but I just thought it was interesting to call out because we keep joking about kind of Stadia and Amazon and them kind of just flailing at the moment. But if they've got something to show from their game development, that could be really interesting too. But according to Jeff Keighley, and I'll let you guys touch on this in some thoughts, there is going to be a world premiere showcase, which is going to focus on, go figure, world premieres. That's going to have more than a dozen from some of these partners. So you're looking at some big games, could be some PlayStation stuff there, as I said. And that, like I said, is June 10th leading into June 11th before Ubisoft kicks off kind of formal E3 on June 12th. So it looks like we're going to have like 5 straight days of game show stuff starting on June 10th. So what do you guys kind of just, again, we don't have any hardcore facts here or anything we know. What would you like to see? What are you expecting? And specifically as it relates to PlayStation working with Summer Game Fest, what do you think PlayStation's going to bring as well? So Miles, I'll start with you, man, because I know you've kind of been talking about a little of this.
Yeah, so it's really interesting that we're going to have Summer Game Fest and E3 kind of happening in tandem this year. They're going to be existing at the same time. Summer Game Fest kicking everything off, and yeah, like you said, a lot of the partners that are confirmed for E3 are also going to be at Summer Game Fest. So I'm just very curious to see what that's going to mean for the big showcases this year, because we're used to with E3 everyone dumping all of their biggest games at once. And I'm wondering if this year it's going to be a little more spread out, because we know Xbox is going to be at Summer Game Fest as well as E3. So does this mean they drop one big announcement with Summer Game Fest and save the rest for their show, or they split the difference? I'm really curious to see kind of how that all plays out. It is exciting that PlayStation will be there in some capacity. I'm glad that was kind of confirmed for Summer Game Fest, since they were the weird omission from the E3 list. I mean, even Nintendo was back, which was really wild. So I'm hoping with PlayStation we at least get some updates from like the new Horizon. Like what's going on with that? Are we going to get a teaser for God of War? Some people are kind of expecting God of War and Horizon more specifically this year, and we don't really know that that's the case. We haven't really got updates for either of those games. So I'd love PlayStation to at least update players with the stuff we already know about. And I think realistically that's going to be a lot of what E3 is. There are definitely going to be some surprises. There's going to be some cool big reveals, like the Summer Game Fest is going to have a bunch of world premieres. But as we saw last year, those aren't all going to be massive AAA mind-blowing releases. We had the Evil Dead game revealed, with Jeff last year, which world premiere. I am a huge supporter of that idea, but I feel like the majority of the world doesn't care about an Evil Dead game. So that's kind of going to be the balance. I'm hoping PlayStation sneaks a couple in, because they've been talking about the 25 new IP that they're working on. Maybe we'll get a big reveal from PlayStation there and say, this is one of the new IP that we're working on. Here's a little taste of what's to come there. For Xbox, again, they have a lot of teams. They have a lot of studios and a lot of teams within those studios working on projects. So I'm hoping I would love to see what's next from Coalition. Or not Coalition, but Compulsion. Yeah. That is the big question mark right now. There's been a lot of leaks and speculation regarding what they're working on, but I want to see some sort of taste of what that is, because that team with a big budget to me is incredibly exciting. We Happy Few, great game, really cool concept, super small scale project, super small budget, and they had to basically stretch outside of their means to make that game happen. I want to see what the first Xbox Game Studios compulsion game looks like. We've talked and teased the dragon, and we've teased the cyclone. I don't think there's any world where we get any information about the Dragon project at E3 this year,
too early,
or maybe even next year. It's a ways out. But the Cyclone, that's a big question mark as well, and there's a possibility that we'll see what that game is at E3 this year. And I would love for that game to be revealed in an official capacity. Because again, can't talk too much about it, but the information that I've seen regarding that is going to be a really cool partnership, and it's going to be something that a lot of people wouldn't expect from this particular team. And then Capcom's going to be there. What's Capcom showing?
Yeah.
What I'm blanking on. What is that space game they revealed that I've already forgotten?
Callisto Protocol. Is that the one you're talking about?
No, it's not. They had the teaser of like the astronaut floating around in space.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's not Returnal, but it kind of gives me that vibe. Like it's a weird made up word. Right?
I can't remember. They showed it last year. They premiered it last year, right? That teaser for it. I don't remember what it's called.
So
anyone in the chat can call it out.
Yeah, exactly. If you guys, I'm totally blanking and I feel bad, but that sounds like that was pushed a ways. So what else is Capcom working on? Are we going to see some classic reboots? I mean, I'm a big Mega Man fan. I would love to see some sort of Mega Man come back. I don't think it will.
Shizno said it's Pragmata.
That's right. Okay, Pragmata. Thank you. Appreciate that. I think recently that was confirmed that is pushed a ways out. So I would love to see an update. Again, a lot of the games that we know about right now, Starfield, another prime example, we have no idea what that even is publicly.
Tell them, Miles.
It's a Bethesda game that has space, and that's it. I mean, there's a ton of stuff floating around in the insider circles and the leaks, and people have, kind of pieced together what it could potentially be. But the average person on a public level has no flippin' idea what that game even is. And that is the case for so many games right now. So I'm hoping that we get at least some sort of updates, because I think Summer Games Fest and E3 are going to be harsh reminders of the reality of COVID. And a lot of the games people were expecting soonish probably aren't coming soonish, but I still want to see some kind of update for them.
It sounds to me like Miles did not watch the definitive recap of Starfield information.
Oh yeah, sorry, I did skip that. I apologize. No, there's nothing is official until it's official.
Yeah,
that is my stance.
The weird thing is, right, a lot of, especially these leaked screenshots and a lot of these rumblings are from, a handful of people from a few years ago. And as we know, game development, games change drastically. Let's wait 3 weeks until we see it, and then we can realistically talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have Todd Howard himself literally joking about people getting excited for it, when it's his game and his studio, because they don't know anything about it. It's kind of funny. Like, calm down, take a step back.
Yes, please.
All right. And Luke, you said something the other day on Cast Co-op, exactly what Miles just said, is you definitely believe that this show is going to demonstrate the impact of COVID.
Absolutely.
And there's going to be leftovers from 2020 that finally show up. And there's going to be other games that people are wanting or expecting that don't show up.
Sure.
And I think it's going to be a combination of that. So feel free to kind of talk through anything, touch on anything Miles just said, or some thoughts of your own there. Well, so you can start with Summer Game Fest. That's the first one, and then we can break it up if you want into the different shows. It's up to you.
Sure. I mean, off the top of my head, Miles covered a lot of the relevant points that kind of were postulating through my mind, and I was jotting notes down there as he kind of went and ticking off some things.
By the way, this is true. That's the one thing we do know about the game.
Starfield will stop global warming.
You're damn right it will. That's right.
God Howard, thank you.
Best tabletop RPG.
God Howard. That's great.
I think absolutely Cyberpunk and Halo Infinite are doing a lot of favors to other development studios right now by way of the way they released and delayed thanks to COVID, and teaching investors perhaps some lessons. And I think that if there are ways for studios to delay and financially succeed, they probably are choosing to do that. And so we are going to see a lot of those games that would have come out in 2020 be bumped into this year. And moreover, more impactfully, we will see a lot of that 2021 catalog stretch out, maybe not have a release date, as it were. Top of my head, from the two major players here are going to be Sony and Xbox, or Sony and Microsoft, and how they distribute their announcements accordingly across Game Fest and E3, particularly with Xbox doing a combined Bethesda show. Right now, Sony to me is the more interesting of the two, because they were the odd man out last year, kind of did their own thing, and it was just such an eclectic year last year. I think we're overdue for a release date on Horizon. I think we are likely going to see that Ragnarok is a 2022 early game, which is the right choice, I think, for sure, for Sony. They're selling out right now. There's no need to rush it. And having a great way to kick off a year is a really good thing for mindset and mindshare.
We also heard, we don't know if it's true, but someone who did nail all the details of upcoming PlayStation games for like 2 years straight has said that God of War is PS5 only. And it's not going to be cross-gen. So if that's right, then completely agree. Let PS5 grow a little bit, get into 2022, and then make that your big hit. Yeah.
And if that's true, I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled. I love what they did with Miles Morales, despite the frustration of the way they marketed the game as being PS5 exclusive. That game was allowed to reach more people by way of being cross-generation. But Ragnarok into 2022, I think, would be a great thing. You get joking aside, I think you should get a Bloodborne 2 teaser, and then one more teaser for a new IP. And perhaps even 2 new games. Sony is very good at selling the future. They've done that successfully for the entire last generation, teasing you for something great, and it's years away. Something that Microsoft has not done a good job of comparatively. And so I'm really excited to see what Sony brings to the table. And their track record at AAA is just bar none the absolute best, outshining even Nintendo in the last generation. So I'm thrilled for that. Now, Xbox side, I think they're going to go big in their major showcase with Bethesda. They go big. They show new stuff. I think, and I had to jot notes down as Miles was talking. I think you do see some Starfield for the first time. Maybe not much, but something. Why are you laughing at me?
Because I'm laughing about you and your notes. You're cracking me up. And I'm waiting for you to drop the pencil like you did last time we were talking.
Hey, I'm holding it on tightly. Compulsion and Ninja Theory are the 2 that I'm most excited about. Do we see more Hellblade 2?
I hope so. Yeah. So I know you mentioned that as well, Miles, in your latest video. So yeah, I wanted to touch on Hellblade 2. And if we're going to,
he's done so much content, he's not sure. He's like,
did I?
Oh no, I definitely did. My last video that I put out was not the most uplifting for Xbox fans. So we can touch on that probably more if we're dividing it into E3, because I think that's more where that's going to be the case. But Hellblade 2, one of my most anticipated games. Not sure what we're going to see, if we see anything this year, sadly.
If we do not see Hellblade 2, I would not be depressed by that, because it was suggestive of them taking their time and doing it right. And I want to be very, very clear that that's something that as gamers we need to applaud. And with the state that some games release in, rushed or otherwise, I'm okay with not seeing a certain game. And it feels like if they're willing to delay their biggest gun in Halo, then they're willing to let these studios take the time. That's one of the things that makes Microsoft such an inviting place to work, based on what I see, in our ether. I am not an insider, but from the outside looking in, it seems that way. I'm really thrilled by kind of what we don't know. I think we would see 2 to 3 unknown IP from a AAA standard, maybe 2 AAA, and then a couple smaller titles that they do with their sub studios. And then I think we see some stuff on games like The Gunk or Crossfire X, Flight Simulator for consoles, things like that. That's how they spread across 2 different shows. At least that's my mindset. Go big on the first impact point with E3, and then kind of let those other things trickle out and celebrate, so you're not lost in a news cycle. You're muted, Ains. But very handsome. Very handsome.
I was typing over here. God damn it. Sorry. Dan, man. So a lot of thoughts thrown around. So give us your thoughts, obviously what you want to see. Some of the stuff we've talked about. But yeah, hit us up.
I will just say, I will echo Luke and Miles. Everything that you guys have said, I'm 100% behind. I'd like to see. Here's my biggest thing. After what I think was kind of a lackluster showing of this whole thing, and rightfully, you know, I totally understand with COVID and everything that happened last year. I want, this is going to sound stupid, but I want the format of these shows to be well done. The problem I have with these, you know, I love watching E3. I love watching, you know, like Keanu walk on the stage. I loved watching, you know, like all that stuff was, you know, it's something that you're not going to get. So you've got to try to make it, you know, I just want it to, you know, to be wowed, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a gigantic game. It's all in the way you kind of present everything.
I mean, you're hyped about Tunic, which is a one-person dev team.
I'm super excited about that game. So it's all about, you know, how you present everything. I think they've had a lot of time to, you know, kind of figure out what works and, you know, and what doesn't. So I don't want it just to come out and just, you know, be like a slightly extended state of play or a direct or something. You know, do something that's going to keep people engaged. And
so
you know, go ahead.
Sorry, Dan, and I know
you're fine. No, go ahead.
But just the point you're exactly making, I forgot to mention that Jeff Keighley on the Summer Game Fest site confirmed it's going to be a full studio show this year, not a just virtual event. Right.
Okay. Yeah. But everything, I mean, as far as whatever E3 is doing and all that stuff, that's what I'm excited about coming up. It's less about the games. We have a really good idea of what's coming out. There's going to be some surprises, I think.
Yeah.
And that's great. But, you know, give it to me, you know, don't serve it to me on a paper plate, I guess is what I'm saying. I mean, it sounds weird, but I mean, I want, you know, I just want to sit there, relax in the recliner and just be
want the spectacle of it.
That's what I want. And you don't get that with the live shows, you know, like you did back then, you know, back then 2 years ago. So, you know, so bring that feeling back if you can, you know, and as best you can. And I understand there are constraints. I understand that, you know, it's a different time, but you know, we're pushing through, we're getting to the point where hopefully here in a year or two, we'll be able to go back to that giant spectacle that E3 was, you know, and that's what I miss from the whole thing. You know, the games will come and they will be awesome, I'm sure. You know, it's just I want to have a nice, you know, 3 or 4 hours where I'm just like, oh, just give it to me. Give it to me.
I don't know about you guys, but I mean, you know, the E3 shows that we've known and loved for years now, right? The big ones when they were live, I would watch those multiple times each.
Yeah,
you know, I just enjoy the show. You know what I mean? And seeing what's up. So,
can I throw one thing out there?
Of course not. Shut up.
Hey, that's a bad bit tactic. Thank you, Miles. Thank you. Two things popped in my mind, and I just forgot one of them, which I'm really. Oh, here we go. All right, I have my notes, so I'm good. First, the phrase "world premiere" is often abused at shows like this, and world premieres, and this is kind of the point that Miles, I think, was starting to touch on. World premieres are indeed world premieres. The first time the world sees it, but that is not indicative of full AAA games every single time. Right. And again, I want to stress for people to keep their expectations in check. 4 or 5 announcements that you're excited of out of a show is fantastic. It is fantastic because games are meant for that entire breadth of things. And so when you see a stat come out ahead of the show, we're going to have 14 world premieres, 15, 30, whatever the number is, you know, 50 games shown off, 100 games are in our showcase. If you're finding a few that are for you, I think that's a really good thing. And I would hope that we try within our content creation spaces to remind that of people. The other part, it was going to be, I was literally going to answer Bad Bit's question where he asked in chat some time ago if it was a mistake to show Hellblade 2 that early and at the reveal. And I would argue absolutely not. It was the perfect game to show that they were trying to compete on a level of God of War visually, with spectacle, with writing. And
that trailer was, can we talk about how amazing that trailer is?
So good.
You're talking about moments that you rewatch, Ains. I've rewatched that reveal so many times, and it's just wonderful.
It's one of my favorites ever. I mean, it's way up there. Yeah,
very much so. Very much so. And so I'm looking forward to that and really want to see how they distribute those announcements across. But I thought Hellblade 2 was the perfect game to announce and then sit on for a while.
Yeah,
keep people thinking.
Yeah, right. I want to touch on something there as well, because Hellblade 2 was announced before Microsoft and the world knew that COVID was going to impact it in the way that it did.
True.
So the reality is, any game that is heavily invested in mocap, like your Ninja Theory titles, like your God of Wars, there's people who, for whatever reason, think that PlayStation, for whatever reason, is immune to the effects of COVID, and that's not the reality. Any game that is heavily utilizing mocap pretty much had a period in time during that year where they couldn't work. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do big fundamental portions of those projects because they couldn't do the mocap. And so Hellblade 2 in particular was really affected by that. And that pushed development out way further than they were expecting. Yeah. And if you think that, God of War is immune to that, whatever Naughty Dog's working on next, studios that are known for impressive high quality mocap, that you're mistaken, because that is the reality of game development. You can find developers who will tell you that. You can find people in the industry who will tell you that, and that is the reality. So people are attacking Microsoft for showing off stuff too early, and realistically, a lot of these people just lost a year, and that's kind of all of these release dates. You can pretty much expect to add 1 year to whatever their plans were. People are expecting Starfield in 2021. Not to be a downer, but I was never in the camp that was happening. I didn't believe that was happening, despite all this momentum and this energy in the community that was trying to will it into existence. And I get that. That's fun. I'm part of that. I'll dive down that rabbit hole and I'll do it. But sometimes you got to take a step back and look at the reality of what's happening. And people try to downplay COVID for game development, and it sucks for the teams. It sucks for the industry. But at the end of the day, these are video games. We're going to be okay. There's going to be stuff to fill in the gaps in our time in the meantime. And we shouldn't encourage people to risk their lives to provide us entertainment, because it's pretty trivial at the end of the day. But
100%. 100%, man. Can't agree more. That'll clip. So,
oh no.
That'll clip. It's funny though, because we talked about it, right? Xbox showing Hellblade, showing Fable, showing Avowed, these big upcoming IPs, right? I believe, and this is just my opinion, but I believe that was more of a response because for years, Xbox leadership held this, we'll show it when it's basically playable, right? In a playable state. And they held this big thing about always showing real-time gameplay at shows, whether you agree with that or not. Whereas Sony had the habit of showing these games years in advance, right? I mean, you can go back to E3, it was 17 or 18. They showed like Final Fantasy VII. They showed Death Stranding. They showed, with basically nothing, right? I mean, these games were years away and they got so much hype for it. So I think Xbox started to go that direction. And now we're talking about, did they show stuff too early? It's like they can't win if they do or they don't sometimes with people. But I think the hype for all these games, as we always say, is there's a load of stuff coming from all these companies. You just have to be patient. Good things are going to come to those who wait. So you guys touched on a load of different things there. So let me just throw some quick thoughts on, and you guys can jump in whenever. So Horizon, all signs, at least, depending, again, everything you just said, Miles, all signs, at least recent ones too, from Jim Ryan and some of the interviews and comments from Herman Holst, is that Horizon is coming this year. I hope it does. I'm a gigantic Horizon fan. I cannot wait for Forbidden West. But we also believe, based on everything else that's been said, that's a cross-generational title too, and will launch on PlayStation 4 as well. So we'll see whatever that looks like. In terms of PlayStation themselves, I think we see them start to highlight more some of these deals because of what we're talking about, right? Some of their IPs, especially the new ones, are far out. So they have exclusivity on Final Fantasy 16. Square Enix is going to be at Summer Game Fest and E3. I guarantee Final Fantasy 16 is going to be highlighted somewhere with a very big, only on PlayStation 5 banner, across the end of it, because that's just a huge IP for the world. Call of Duty, we can make fun of it, we can joke about anything you want to do about Call of Duty, but the fact is the fact. It's one of the biggest games in the world, continues to be. PlayStation still has the rights to the marketing there. They've renewed and re-upped on that. They will highlight some point this summer that PlayStation coming this fall, or excuse me, Call of Duty coming this fall is going to have something PlayStation related, right? And they're going to market that. So that is kind of where PlayStation is at Summer Game Fest. Then we move over to Ubisoft, and we haven't touched on this yet. So let's talk about this. I completely forgot until I was kind of doing some research for the show We haven't seen Far Cry 6 yet. We haven't seen gameplay. We saw the trailer, right? And the trailer looks fantastic and got people excited. But that was, to your point, that was a 2021 game originally. It's been delayed, no release date, but it's been nearly a year since we started talking about that game. So I definitely think that's going to be the big hitter we see out of Ubisoft this year. We will get gameplay. We will get a release date. What do you guys think about Far Cry 6?
I'll go first on that one. I don't care all that much. Far Cry 5 really disappointed me.
Okay.
Because I love the gameplay of the Far Cry games. I really do. I think it's really cool. Far Cry 3 was just awesome. Far Cry 4 was more Far Cry 3. I really liked Primal. But the more and more times that they institute into their gameplay the drug trips, I don't like them because it removes the ability to play and it takes me out of the experience that I was having.
I hated that in 5. Yeah, 5. That's the aspect I hated most.
Same. I would be starting to get into a groove and then it would just yank me away from that. Really not a fun mechanic. And so it's really soured me on the franchise, actually, because they've been doing that more and more progressively through 3, 4, and 5. And it was a mechanic in Primal for it as well. So I'm less thrilled by it. I also think Ubisoft kind of shot themselves in the foot by accident by releasing so many big games close to each other. Valhalla, Watch Dogs. I think there was one more that they did. Maybe there wasn't, but it was so close
Valhalla,
together.
Watch Dogs, and Immortals.
Immortals, thank you. Yeah, and I loved 2 of the 3, and then couldn't be bothered. I didn't play Valhalla, but I liked Immortals and I liked Watch Dogs a lot. There were some launch issues there, COVID related or otherwise, with next gen and patching and whatnot. Those games are great now, by the way, for anyone that picks them up. They're almost always on sale.
And just DM Dan if you want to talk about Valhalla. He's happy to talk about that.
I think he gave it a 7.
Maybe.
But
it's a solid 7.
What I want
to talking about a review score, right?
Well, I mean,
Miles, this is an inside joke with Bitcast. Just for the record, Dan's also the guy that bought Anthem currency.
Yep.
Still has some.
Who still has some?
Still got it.
I got like $10 now. That's been jumping on there and just throwing it at whatever. It's a Colossus? Okay, I'll just buy it. That's basically it. It's almost gone. And we'll celebrate that day.
Yeah,
we will.
You're helping fund the new Mass Effect.
That's what
Let's look at it that way.
Yep.
And cheers to Anthem. All right, but back to my point. Ubisoft did a really big disservice to their fans by not spacing those things more appropriately. And I think some things got lost in the mix there. My hope is that Far Cry 6 heads up the show, heads it up well. Every show we always say Sam Fisher somewhat somewhere. But no, he'll be in a mobile game. It's not going to he'll probably be in Far Cry Primal 2. Yeah. It's just ridiculous. I'm not thrilled by Ubisoft's show. That said, Ubisoft's taken good care of me over the past year and a half. I really did like Legions. I really did like Immortals. So I'm not excited to see their games because it's usually just more Ubisoft. But I like Ubisoft. I just don't need to see it like day one, world premiere. Cool. I know I'll play and enjoy most of them.
Fair enough. Let me get these super chats real quick. I don't know who these people are, but Xbox expansion pass. Joe, I left my jacket at your mom's house. My bad.
That seems important.
Yeah, definitely.
Followed by, where am I at here?
Oh, man.
This is the finished super chat. Welcome to the show, Miles. Luke sucks. Let me defend Bloodborne, you cows. Love the show. I'll send you a link. Check your DMs. You can jump in and defend Bloodborne. All right.
Christ.
Just a waste of everyone's time.
So if you guys want to add anything to Ubisoft, please go ahead. Otherwise, we'll jump to a little more deeper discussion on Xbox, Bethesda, and E3.
I mean, yeah. Go ahead, Miles.
I was going to say, yeah, for me, Ubisoft needs to prove that they are moving away from the Ubisoft formula, which I'm personally just wildly burnt out of. Like Watch Dogs Legion, I played. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I played. They're cool. They're big games. They're just about cramming as much stuff as they possibly can into one game so they can justify this. This is 50 plus hours or this is 100 hours. And for me, I would happily pay $60 for a perfect 10-hour game than I would pay $60 for a 100-hour game where 60 hours I am just slogging through it because I have to. And that's kind of been Ubisoft's MO for a long time with a lot of their big open world games. Yeah. I get the bang for your buck. I get that people like them. They're not bad games. I'm not saying they're bad games. I am just saying Ubisoft is so obsessed with just quantity in their games and their titles that there's so much fat that they need to trim off. And I'm hoping Far Cry 6 is them saying, all right, we understand where we've misstepped. We understand that we're bloating these games without adding value to them. So we are going to give you a nice, tight experience, well produced, and here's the future of Ubisoft Studios. Because they've publicly said they're reevaluating their approach, and that's because they need to. I know people love Assassin's Creed. Again, I'm not saying these franchises are bad. I'm not saying these games are bad. I'm just saying Ubisoft and their marketing and their push from developers is more focused on quantity over quality for these games. I don't need a 100-hour game. Nobody needs 100 hours. Sure, it's a cool option for people, but that should not be the standard of every single game you have just because you did it once with Assassin's Creed and it worked.
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. I hope they've learned that lesson. I doubt they have. I know it's a big sticking point for Dan, and part of the reason, Valhalla, you reviewed it the way you did. Feel free to correct me, but I know we've talked about that a lot, about that extra kind of content in the game that it's not really content. It's just bloat, right? Yeah. So Far Cry 6, I really hope they choose to make it more narrative driven. Still have a fun kind of playground like Far Cry is known for, but focus it down to your point, Miles. Trim it down a bit because you also have Giancarlo Esposito, who is an amazing actor. If they're not taking advantage of him and really letting him set the tone for that game or his character, that's going to be a miss, in my opinion.
And that's really the key for that game is, don't waste that talent that he brings to the table. It's a awesome opportunity, even though it seems like he does pretty much everything anymore. He's
everywhere, man.
Yeah. He's still amazing in everything he does. So, don't waste that, freshen it up. The reason that I had issues with Valhalla was always because it's always the same. It hasn't really, the whole mechanic hasn't changed. And when it does, it's just an arbitrary change for no reason. It's like, oh, we're going to change the entire skill tree. Well, why? Well, we don't know, but we're going to add like 8,000 different, points on the, it's just, they just change stuff for the sake of change instead of actually making meaningful, progression with the next title. And you can do that, I think. And if you need more time to do that, then, do it, because you have such a huge rabid following in these, all of these Ubisoft's games, really, from Far Cry and Assassin's Creed. And I think, I'm hoping Far Cry 6, is going to be amazing. It's going to have, to your point, Ains, a more of a narrative focus. I just, I'm hoping my expectations are far, far lower, though, because, but I will definitely be playing it and, seeing what's up. As far as everything else they release, it's like you guys said, it's very samey.
Yeah, so it better be good because I've got like the $200 CE pre-order from Ubisoft.
The flamethrower
with the flamethrower, the flamethrower model. So that's like this big. So it better be damn good.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to actual E3. I know you guys already touched on some of this, but there's a few kind of specific things I want to call out. So we know now that Xbox and Bethesda, right? So traditionally, of course, Xbox and Bethesda being huge publishers completely separate. They had their own conferences, own time. We know now that we don't know if it's like merging and it's going to be crossover, if it's going to be back to back, but it's going to, take advantage, of course, of the fact that Bethesda is now Xbox. And that means a lot of things, right? This is going to be a lot of content, probably a lot of things to come. We know Halo Infinite's going to be a showpiece, where it lands, what have you. We know that a few people from 343 at their update last week said they have huge plans for the summer and leading up to release, which I think you have to. I mean, that's literally your centerpiece. So I fully expect a solid, in my opinion, not a 2-minute trailer. I think, I get your thoughts on this, guys, but I think we're going to see like a 4 or 5 minute gameplay, really highlighting some of the cinematics, the characters, and the story from Halo Infinite at E3 to really build that hype back up of the Halo universe and what this game means with Chief, Cortana, Arbiter, what's his name? Luke, help me out here. The Brute, man.
Atriox.
How
did I know that?
Yeah, I know you knew it and I didn't.
At first, I thought you meant Craig at first.
I'm tired. Dan just knew a Halo thing I didn't.
You lost your Halo card, man.
But I really do think that's going to be a centerpiece of their show. you guys think they're going to do that, or do you have other thoughts on what they're going to do with Infinite this year?
I'm curious. I mean, I'm probably the only one, but I'm curious to see what the single player model is. Like, what are they going to do exactly? How is it going to work? It's obviously not going to be probably linear. It sounds like maybe it'll be.
I heard they had Ubisoft working on it.
Oh, then perfect. Yeah, I'm all in. That should be a nice 90 to 100 hour experience. I'm how I feel about it. I love the single player stuff. Not a big multiplayer guy. I'm excited to see what they're going to bring to it. I want to see how they change it up. I expect it to look absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it has to blow people away, right? And I know the expectations for Halo, like the jokes have been online, like it's got to solve global warming, and it's got
right.
If it doesn't, it's a flop.
Yeah, the expectations are too big for the game, but facts are facts. This is your showcase title. This is your biggest centerpiece. It's Chief, your biggest icon. It has to show well, is what I would say.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was going to say, I'm expecting 2 trailers. I'm expecting a updated campaign trailer, more story beats, more gameplay, because the narrative this year is going to be course correcting the narrative that was developed last year, that Halo Infinite looks bad and Halo Infinite will be a bad game, blah, blah, blah. I thought fundamentally what we saw of the gameplay looked incredible. It looked really fun. I had no complaints. So they're going to show a trailer that showcases what they've been working on to correct the visuals. I'm expecting some side-by-side shots of, like, we showed you this last year, here's what it looks like now, kind of subtly incorporated into the trailers for the people who are going to freeze frame and zoom in 200 times and try to get the Craig 2.0. I better see handsome Craig in the trailer.
Yes,
chiseled jaw, handsome Craig better be in
all
there.
Flexing,
just oiled abs, just glistening in the sun. So Phil, if you're listening, that's the expectation, and I'm going to put that out into the internet, so it better happen. And then I'm expecting the multiplayer suite. Yes. This is what Halo Infinite multiplayer is going to look like. Let's break down the new modes, returning favorites. The weird thing is they're in a position where they introduced Warzone, but now Call of Duty is synonymous with Warzone. So I imagine they are going to be forced to rebrand their big multiplayer mode from Warzone. And basically, like, whatever Warzone 2.0 is going to be, it might not be called Warzone simply because of the whole Call of Duty thing that's happened. And there's already a ton of momentum behind that. And then what I want to see, not necessarily expecting this, but they have promised us that they will give us plenty of lead time for that beta.
I was just going to ask
they promised that
they're going to announce the beta, or
if it's launching in November, they are running out of time. So they better shadow drop that multiplayer beta.
Yeah, I'm completely with you there. And by the way, Steve has a very good point. It better cure the trophy room of PlayStation podcast. Yeah, I don't know if there's any cure for that, but we can hope.
The name is backwards on Twitter.
Yeah, it should be like it's a place. That's weird. I don't know why they went with that with the name, but anyway,
dumb.
He's right. Yeah, dumb. Anyway, Luke, you were nodding your head, agreeing with Miles. I think you were in similar kind of mind space as to what Miles was just saying.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. In fact, I had 2 trailers written on my notes as well.
As you scribble along over there.
I had those written down.
I agree with Miles. He's saying what I would have said.
No, I was going to note they need to make very clear that it is a Master Chief story, just to make sure they rid anyone of that carryover taste from Halo 5, which I really don't think is going to be quite the issue any longer. It's been so long. We have an entirely new generation of potential fans. What they do need to focus on are actually 2 characters that you briefly mentioned, one being Atriox, because a good villain makes the story.
He's
Batman. Atriox is incredible. Halo Wars 2, and then the surrounding canon that exists in the extended universe is just wonderful with Atriox, but they need to show fans that don't know that stuff why Atriox is such a wonderful Thanos-like villain, and that he's not crazy. There's something, methodical in the way that he is there. And then you have to show the voice of us as we play through Chief. Chief is a historically fairly quiet character. Halo 4, I think, was the most he talked. And we used to speak through Cortana. That was missing in Halo 5. And so the fans are going to actually be speaking quite a bit, I would expect, through the Pelican pilot, whose name escapes me. Yes. So I think you show off why he is a good character and why we should be.
He said he's a key part of the story.
Yeah. And he should be. If he's taking you around the map and helping you explore this world, he's going to be the character's voice through the story, or our voice, I should say. So I think we need to focus on those two characters in this cinematic single player showcase trailer. And then very similarly to Miles, we need to have some sort of information on that multiplayer suite and how they plan to distribute that to players who are interested, betas or otherwise, but maybe give it a date. I don't know that the dates, you could just say November, and nail down the date later on if you need to wait for other announcements.
If they say November, everyone's going to assume November 15th. I mean, that's the date.
Sure, absolutely. There is another November thing happening that I cannot seem to place on. No, and I can't seem to place. It's in the nerd space. It might be Gaming Ways. Is it Red Dead something? No, it's not right. Grand Theft Auto 5's next gen up thing.
Another one.
Yeah, come on.
Another one.
Come on.
We say that the game makes banks every year.
But no, I'm not arguing the sales and the money it makes. Yeah, no one can argue that.
But mind share, and you want marketing window space right there, because your major opposition otherwise would be Horizon most likely. So they want to probably be strategic there. And Battlefield 6, they likely have a marketing deal with EA on some level. Yep. So you want to make sure that those two don't conflict. So if you don't have a date but you have a window time, fine, whatever. But yeah, I expect information on those two, and I'm very pleased to say that the delay just feels good. It felt right. Yeah. And I'm just thrilled that they're treating Halo with the respect that it deserves if they want it to be a major player. Because I mean, I'm sitting back there, like Chief is on my wall. It's all over the place. I love it. You know, same with you. I see it. And Atriox, I'm so excited to see him as a villain because he's just so awesome. So awesome.
Yeah, me too. I don't think people, you nailed it. And that's because you were a big fan of Halo Wars 2 and we kind of know the extended universe a little bit. But for those who don't know, you nailed it. Atriox is probably, I'm trying to think, right? If you look back through, he's the best villain I think they've set up in the Halo universe. And his history and how he came to power and stuff is actually really interesting. And I hope they really dive into that. So got some comments here. Where we at? Darge Knight in the house. What's up, brother? What's going on, boys? Matt, busy day. Nice seeing Sexy Luke with Sexy Miles joining the sexy host. Sexy. There is a lot of sexy on this panel. Yeah. So welcome, man. Greg Green in the house. What's up, brother? Good to see everyone. Yeah, I completely agree with Halo. I was going to mention the same thing, Miles, about the beta. You know, we know the insider flighting is kind of already there for people to sign up. If you haven't signed up to be ready for the whatever the infinite beta looks like, the instructions on how to do that, it's actually like a 2-step process to do that. You can find it on our site. Just search, you'll find it. It's out there step by step. So the other one that really came out this week with Game Informer, and that's why I'm wearing the shirt. Game Informer had the cover article on Psychonauts 2. And I know this is not some, groundbreaking AAA title, right? But it is a beloved IP that many fans were calling for a long time. It was crowdfunded and now obviously owned by Xbox Studios. But I'm guessing by them covering it so heavily now and saying they're really basically, polishing and really near release, you guys think I can almost guarantee if we don't get this Shadow E3 drop next month for this game launching, that, the release date's got to be right around the corner, right? Because the game, if you saw the screenshots and the videos this week, it looks so damn good. Mm-hmm. And it looks to have come a long way, even from when we saw it at E3 in 2019, and it looked good then. So I'm really impressed by what I'm seeing out of this game.
I want to, before we talk about Psychonauts, Shizno Elite has the best thing in chat. He wants to see Craig get assassinated by Atriox. That would be the coolest way to shout out the haters, is if Atriox just grabs his skull and just crushes it. And it's like, all right, we got a new Halo meme here.
That would be fully playing into it.
It really would, in a great way.
Damn it.
Regarding Psychonauts, though, I never played Psychonauts 1. Sorry. And I have no interest in playing the original Xbox version. I was really hoping we get like a remake or a remaster, proper version, achievements, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. That said, you are absolutely correct. This game looks awesome and gorgeous. And it is exciting to see this kind of game.
So you finally coming around now after the slander that was thrown its way on Thursday.
What about Psychonauts? I never
Yeah.
knocked Psychonauts.
Oh, it might have been Joe. It probably was. Well, it was Joe, wasn't it?
He's honestly the worst.
Terrible.
He's really the worst. Yeah, I would never knock Psychonauts. I knocked Gotham City Imposters without ever playing it. I was just trolling you.
I'll stick Sarko on you, and believe me, that's a problem you don't want.
I believe you. He burned me twice on Twitter this week, and I'm like, I was just kidding. I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead. But yeah, go ahead. I'm excited for Psychonauts too.
Yeah. Yes, Psychonauts 2 looks incredible. And it's so great that this cult OG Xbox title is like being resurfaced, revisited, and re-releasing during a time when Xbox has the most momentum that it's ever had, and is like doing a really good job of catering to its history while also looking to the future. And that is like the perfect title. Again, like Ayn said, it's not going to blow people's minds. It's not going to be this huge game that sells millions and millions of copies. But for a lot of people, it's a really big deal. And when it comes to Xbox committing to having a diverse portfolio of games, having a big 3D platformer like that is going to be huge as well. So Jack Black
is an audience for those games, man. Like, you got to cover all genres if you're going to be serious about your platform and Game Pass in general. It's a huge offering for that.
I would love to see it shadow drop. The energy behind that, people love that, no matter how trivial it is. Like,
no doubt.
If Psychonauts 2 was just out like that day, there'd be so much excitement and energy, and there would probably be a lot more people who maybe wouldn't even play it, buying into that energy and hype of a shadow drop. Because again, they could announce a release date for Psychonauts months out, but we saw it in the Xbox store. There was a download size attached to it. So they are comfortable getting that process ready, which makes me feel like it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
Only a matter of time.
Yeah. I'm really hoping. I'm hoping that it launches in June, because that would mean that we get Psychonauts 2 and Ratchet and Clank with like a week apart, which would be freaking incredible.
Except unless you're going on Twitter, then it would be awful.
Yeah, Twitter already knows what Starfield is and how good it's going to be. So, that's what we do. The other one we got the release date for this week is the Ascent. And I know that, again, indie game, smaller developer, but this game's turned a lot of heads, including mine. I've been really excited about this game ever since I first saw it. I said many times personally, I'm a huge ARPG fan, isometric ARPG with loot. I'm in. I don't even care what it is. So the fact that this looks so good, 4-player co-op, cyberpunk aesthetic, and it's coming out July 29th. It's only 2 months away as we're speaking here, basically. I am freaking pumped for this game, guys. And again, Game Pass to launch. So, even if you were on the fence, you get to try it. What do you guys think about this?
Yeah, I've been all in on this since they showed it. So that one's going to be a day one play for sure. I'm not as, hot on Psychonauts 2, but, it's got such a cool fan base, I guess. Like there's that, it's kind of got like that, like you said, Miles, that OG Xbox game kind of, so
got a cult following.
Yeah, cult following, right?
Word, but you know what I mean. It's there, right. And I'm one of them. I adore the original Psychonauts. Right. It meant a lot to me at the time, and it's really good.
It's nice to see some of these smaller games are getting sequels and kind of reaching a new audience now. Yeah. So that's awesome. But as far as the Ascent goes, that's not even a question. That's all I probably play when it comes out for at least a couple weeks.
No doubt.
I'm thrilled by the Ascent. I am all about these smaller games. In fact, I'm the guy that goes through the store each week when deals with gold and picks up an indie game here or there for $7 to $15 just to try. And Game Pass has been satiating a lot of that desire. I mean, just off the top of my head, Ascent, Riftbreaker, the new D&D game, and Psychonauts are all coming to Game Pass day one.
Too, yeah.
And what a gift, right? Because I would have bought maybe 2 of those, maybe. And now I get to try all of them and play them. And the Ascent is another game that if I don't like it, no harm, no foul. If I do, what a win. What a win. It looks gorgeous. It looks like it's going to be a blast. I love twin sticks. The aesthetic is wonderful. But no harm, no foul if I don't like it. Same with any of those games. And that is the joy of having Game Pass. And it's cool to see more people realizing that. One of the big memeified jokes is that content creators that cover Xbox, myself included, I feel like every week Game Pass, but it's not disingenuous. There's just a lot of quality coming.
No,
to Game Pass.
it has so much momentum right now, and nearly every week we're getting a cool announcement for it, so you can't help but talk about it.
Right.
I saw someone complaining about that the other day too, of like, oh, all we hear about is Game Pass. It's like, well, it's not for no reason. People aren't just yelling Game Pass from the rooftops just because they want to say Game Pass, right?
Right.
There's a reason it's getting talked about so heavily.
And the key word there is game. Like, I'm playing games regularly that are coming to that service. And so the Ascent is one of several this summer that I'm just really happy to have access to. Miles?
Yeah, the Ascent looks right up my alley. I had the pleasure of sifting through like hours and hours of footage. Jez attended a preview event for it.
Yeah, he said he played it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he loved it. He also said it was one of the best looking games that he's seen in a while, like visually. So they put a lot of detail into the lighting and the environments. And one thing that I noticed when I was checking it out is there's a pretty heavy emphasis on a compelling story, which you see a game in this style, the top down, and you don't really expect a ton in the way of like cinematics and storytelling, but they've spent a lot of time creating this cool, compelling world to spend time in. Ryan McCaffrey was talking about in his preview that it's like a modern take or a modern cyberpunk take on Hunter the Reckoning. And that for me is like the most glowing thing I can hear, because it's not Diablo in the sense of the way it plays. It is a twin stick shooter, twin stick action game. So that's something people should expect. It's not going to play like Diablo,
right?
But yeah, definitely. I'm a big co-op guy. Multiplayer stuff is where I spend the most time with. So yeah, you throw anything with co-op and Game Pass, I'm going to dabble. Hell, I even downloaded SnowRunners. Let's go.
Nice, man. Yeah, we got to jump into this together, dude, because it's a twin stick shooter, ARPG.
Yeah.
I mean, let's do this, man. I'm all over it. So, yeah.
The dual thumbs? Is that what we called it here on?
Yeah, the dual thumbs.
The dual thumbs. That was my contribution.
Yeah, he couldn't remember twin stick. He's like, it's the
dual thumbs. In the game where you use both thumbs.
Yeah. I mean, it's not wrong.
Yeah, no, you're right. 100%.
Technically, yeah. So real quick, guys, on the other thing we've heard, and it kind of died down after we heard the whole Mexico thing for Forza Horizon 5. But do you think we're going to see Forza Horizon 5, 1 at E3 and 2 releasing either this fall or, early next year?
I'll go first because I know nothing.
Okay.
So I know nothing.
Yeah.
I think it would make sense. Because it's a very dry year for Xbox exclusives on the AAA scale, right? And there has not been a Forza game released. We know that Motorsport, from public knowledge, we know that Motorsport was in development and is being worked on. We also know that Horizon's more popular, a ways out, and Horizon's more popular, more accessible for a lot of gamers outside of simulation racing, right? It's more of an arcade experience. We also know that Microsoft has a wonderful presence in Mexico. I mean, look at they had a XO event 19, I believe it was, held in Mexico. That was just awesome to watch. Even if the announcements weren't for you, there was a lot of energy. There was just positive vibes there. I know the Gears community is huge there. I think it's very possible we see it. It's equally possible we don't. And I don't mean for that to skirt the line. I mean, I could see a world very comfortably where Horizon is just right there and it's cross-gen, smart delivered, and there you go. Whereas Motorsport is true Xbox Series SX only, and you're not touching that on Xbox One. That's why I say I can see either so comfortably.
Yeah, and they've confirmed Motorsport is kind of a refreshing of the series, brand new physics engines. I mean, tire modeling. I'm big into Motorsport, so I've looked up every detail I can find on it. And it is next gen only. They've already said that. So brand new engine and everything.
I missed the next gen only part. Thank you.
Yeah, that's confirmed. So that's why people are like, I thought it's Motorsport's turn. Well, they're not on this sequential release schedule, right? They're kind of mixing it up. So, and also, I think I said this a few weeks ago, but I had in my head that Horizon 4 was only 2 years old. It's not. It's 3 years old. It came out in 2018. So, you start to talk even with COVID. But as you said, maybe cross-gen, kind of building upon already the enhancements they have for Forza Horizon 4, which is a stunning game as it is.
Yeah.
I could definitely see Horizon 5 coming sooner than people thought. So Miles, you have to tell us definitively, right? You know definitively, right?
I don't know definitively. No. My expectation is yes, we will likely see it, and yes, there is a definite possibility we get it this fall. So Microsoft can keep the Halo, Gears, Forza, Holy Trinity meme just running as long as possible. Sadly, I think that's going to be kind of the realistic highlights when it comes to AAA games from Xbox that are launching this year. That being said, I know a lot of people are kind of negative on Mexico as a setting, and people had it set in their minds that it was going to be Japan. But doing some research for a video, I started looking at some areas of Mexico, Mayan ruins. That's when I was like, yes, let's Forza Horizon in Mexico. Let me bomb through some Mayan ruins in my Warthog. That is ideal. Cancun, cruising on the beaches of Cancun in your Warthog. Let's go. I'm expecting that this year.
I got excited. They need to up the amount of crossover though with their franchises, because that Halo level in Forza Horizon 4 was incredible. More of that, please. More little fun experiences that you can use the Horizon games to play with. I want more of that, and I'm right with you. I put in the chat also, let's get away from the number system for Forza Horizon and Forza Motorsport. Just Forza Horizon Mexico or Forza Horizon Japan or Tokyo or whatever locale is their setting, I think would be a great way to title those, because the number systems are tough to track as they get too high, right?
Yeah, once you get to like 8, 9, 10, it gets a little ridiculous.
Yeah, right. Which is why, we joke, but Resident Evil went Biohazard and Village. They had the V11 or, Village kind of looking like the 8, but, it was a clever way to start to move away from that. So last thing I want to touch on, and actually your video reminded me of this because we haven't talked about it in a while, Miles, but is Elden Ring. Now, Elden Ring has been a very interesting topic for a long time now, because we saw it at E3 2019. It basically disappeared, and we know that we have seen some rather I won't say confirmed, right, but people in the know saying, hey, this game was nearer than you think, but because they had this 9-month polishing phase that From Software does that really got impacted because of COVID, obviously. This has been delayed, but we know that Xbox has marketing rights, or we believe, because we saw it in 2019, and they've had the rights for Sekiro and Souls and stuff. Is there a chance we see it? And I don't know where the release date is here. Obviously, I don't think anyone does. But do you think we see it again this year?
It's up in the air at this point. So I'll start by saying Hellblade 2, Elden Ring. Literally the two games I'm most excited to see.
Okay.
So it wasn't with great pleasure that I got to talk about how we might not see them this year. What I've heard with Elden Ring is that leaked footage that I'm sure a lot of people have seen going around, that was from 2019. So they had gameplay, and they were testing basically internal trailers back in 2019 for Elden Ring. So, there are people who say it's, not far along, and that doesn't seem to be the case. It sounds like it is very far along. A lot of people were expecting March of 2020 to be the initial release date, and it seems like maybe plans were that March of 2020.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm hoping for March of 2021. March of 2022. My bad. Sorry. March of 2022 is what I'm hoping for right now. But also, there was that update to their investors, basically preparing them for a scenario where it maybe doesn't hit that window. So I think right now they're aiming for March. March is the goal. March is the dream. We will be seeing it sometime soon. What soon is, TM, is kind of hard to pin down right now. That's why you've seen so many people like in these circles talk about how Elden Ring is coming soon, because it is coming soon relatively, but
relative to how the market is right now.
Yeah. Xbox's E3 is what I wanted. Xbox's E3 is where I believed it was happening, and I'm sure that Xbox and Bandai Namco wanted that to be the case. And now it's a matter of, does From Software have the means and the time to have a trailer ready for E3 that they're comfortable with? Because the next trailer we see will be gameplay, and the next trailer we will see is going to be a release window. So Please let it be at E3. I don't know that it will be. It sounds like it's up in the air, but if not, I can't imagine we wait another 3 months without seeing something from Elden Ring.
Yeah.
That's
I'm with you. I'm with you. I really want to see it. It's one of my most anticipated games. I do think it is far along. But I mean, if you look at their releases, right, whether it be Souls 3, you look at Bloodborne, you look at Sekiro, they get those games primed for release. They're not releasing games that are broken and then need months to fix, right, and update. It's pivotal to them that because of the mechanics in their games, they're highly tuned and polished when they release. And so I think that's why we started to hear about this 9-month polishing phase they go through with their games that was really severely impacted due to COVID. So, yeah, hopefully, man. It's been a while. I mean, I just looked real quick, and Sekiro was March of 2019 it released. So they were already working on Elden Ring prior, to Sekiro releasing. So, I mean, by now, you're looking over 3-4 years. So, yeah. So Dan does not care.
Not at all. But whenever it comes out, yay, Souls boys.
All right. So I think we've covered Xbox Bethesda. Obviously, there's going to be things we don't know about and don't expect. Is there anything else? I was going to jump over real quick to just touch on WB, and not so much in the vein of the whole kind of craziness that went on with the AT&T and WB thing, but they are a announced company that's showing games supposedly at E3. And so, the thought I had is Gotham Knights showing up again, even though we know Gotham Knights is delayed to 2022, and they brought that delay out. What is WB Games going to be bringing to E3 this year? Do they show Gotham Knights again? Is there other projects, the Harry Potter game? What do we get from that? Do we finally get a release date and some true kind of gameplay of that? Because that's heavily anticipated as well.
Yeah, it's probably Shadow of War remastered or something. I mean, I have no idea with these guys anymore. I'm ready for some Gotham Knights for sure, but I don't even know what the hell happened at AT&T. Like, it came up on my timeline. I'm looking at it. I'm like, what? I don't even care at this point. It's so that whole thing has been such a roller coaster. I have no clue. No clue.
Yeah, it's just another part of the corporate dealing and the separation of companies and where they're going with it. And it basically just asking the question of now that, it's kind of back on the table for the WB Games segment of that company to potentially be merged, acquired.
So Xbox is buying them is what you're telling me.
According to Twitter, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, confirmed.
Sure. Yes, it's confirmed. Gotcha. But yeah, that's why it kind of rose to the front again. And like I said, we don't need to waste time on that. I was talking more about what games they actually have coming, their IPs that we'll see at E3.
Yeah, like Shadow of War 3, like Brigadier Blue, is that what his name is? That would be awesome.
Well, we do have Gollum, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We all kind of grimace for like
Miles is incredibly excited for it.
The first showing of that was not mind blowing. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you take your most. I mean, I don't even know how to say it. Like he's not a boring character. He's just, I don't know what he does. He just kind of runs around and gets angry.
A main guy.
Yeah, it's a super weird choice. Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe it'll be like Andy Serkis prior to, when he became Golem. So maybe that'll be fun. Probably not, though. I'm guessing. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the hell that is.
Mr. Positive.
Yeah,
Mr. Positivity only.
Come on. Gollum. We all think the same thing. I'm just someone that says it.
And Leo says Injustice 3, and then of course there's that rumor floating around that NetherRealm is actually moving to a Marvel fighting game. That it could be a Marvel. What was it? X-Men versus something. Someone said, I forget now. But they've done tremendous work with Mortal Kombat and Injustice, so I think a lot of people would be very, very excited to see a Marvel fighting game.
Yeah,
sure.
I would be, because I, to this day, still love Marvel Nemesis Rise of the Imperfects. An imperfect game for sure, but I love the premise, and I love seeing Wolverine and Venom and Daredevil and Spider-Man all in this like dark environment fighting. It was a cool premise, 3D fighter at the time, with environmental like interaction. It was really cool to see my heroes that way. I think we've had better versions of crossovers since then, but NetherRealm's track record in the last 6 years is just immaculate. So Marvel versus Mortal Kombat. Anything more hero wise, I'm excited for. Moreover, I just want more Gotham Knights. I want more Batman. I want more DC heroes to be showcased outside of the Bat family, whom I love. I'm a sucker for superhero stuff, DC comic stuff, and the best I've gotten of late is Fortnite characters. And that, while fun for me, is not satiating that Arkham fix that I really want. You know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a good question from Brigadier. Oh, it jumped. Sorry. When was the last Marvel vs. Capcom? I don't even remember what the last one.
Yeah.
But when was that?
No, they did the Infinite, didn't they? Marvel vs. Capcom.
Oh, you're right.
Infinite,
You're right.
Which was like 2017. Correct me if I'm wrong. 2016.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
It fell flat. I remember.
Yeah, that game, the art stuff. People seem to like the combat seemed to be solid universally, but yeah, people did not like the visuals, myself included. Like Same. It was this uncanny valley of, they had like Frank West and these classic characters, but they didn't look like they did in the games, and it was clearly a super low budget game. And that was a point, obviously, back when Capcom was still trying to figure out where to invest money for titles and how to invest money, because that game was incredibly low budget, and it showed. And it sucks because it's such a cool concept for a game and such a beloved franchise. But yeah, I bought Infinite and played it for like a week, and I never touched it again.
Yeah, a lot of people say Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is the best, which I agree. I actually still have my Dreamcast copy sitting on a shelf right over there. No joke. My original copy. And Darge asked about the Hogwarts game. That's the Harry Potter one I mentioned. So they gave an update on it. I can't remember. They gave an update earlier this year on its development, and I know it was delayed like every other game. But I have to imagine they'll probably show something from it because there's a lot of, I mean, it's Harry Potter. It's, whether you like it or not, it's a massive global IP, and people are very excited about that. So I think we'll get a lot of that. But it kind of ties to and I don't want to get into it, I said that, but it does tie to the discussion, right, of the whole WB Games franchise and IP ownership, because you look at everything we just talked about. You've got the Batman and DC heroes. You've got Harry Potter. You've got, I mean, there's a lot of notable IP under that banner.
Yeah. For anyone that wants that conversation, I will plug it again. Cast Co-op 5 was centered a lot around that conversation.
And a whole bunch of other nonsense. Yeah. But
that's what we do. That's what we
Shameless plugging.
Shameless plugging. No.
I know. Plug it on my show.
I don't think we're going to see much new stuff from WB at all. I think it's going to be, they have way too many projects in the works right now. Suicide Squad, Hogwarts Legacy, Gotham Knights. Like, they need to get some of these projects across the finish line before I even want them to announce something else. And then, like you mentioned, the whole legal situation complicates all that. Is some of these titles on hiatus now? Or are they going to be canceling any of these projects? I don't know if it'll be that extreme, but the future of WB as a whole is unsure, because they tried to sell, but I think the problem with selling that is most of your stuff is licensed, and buying licensed stuff does not really get you anything. You still have to pay the licensing fees. You don't own that IP. You're not exclusively buying the right stuff. You get to make Harry Potter games. So when you're buying WB and these teams, you don't really get much. So I think there were the conversations that Microsoft was talking to WB about buying them. I think they looked at it and what they were asking and said, like, we're not really getting much out of this deal. So they're probably figuring out like how to split that up even further, because I could see Microsoft saying, NetherRealms, let's go, jump on board. Rocksteady, let's go. Let's get you an Xbox Game Studios. But I don't see Xbox being like, we'll buy WB and all the stuff that comes with that, because
there's a lot of weight and baggage.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you guys want to go 4-way on it? We can just
we can take it over right now.
I got 15 I can put in.
I got 5 on it. Let's do it.
I assume you guys are talking billions, right?
No.
I spent my last money making a super chat to make fun of Joe.
Yeah.
Worth every penny.
Worth it.
Change over here. We'll see what we can do. Yeah. Yes.
All right. Last one I wanted to touch on in this vein is Nintendo. The I don't want to say odd man out, but they kind of are in the conversation because they do their own thing. They've got their own schedule. We don't really know much of what they're doing for this fall at all. You've got Switch Pro rumors. The only thing we know is Breath of the Wild 2 is coming. The recent kind of rumblings about that is it's going to be pushed again. Not that it had a release date, but it's not going to make 2021. And so if that's the case, What is Nintendo doing here? What do they show this summer to get people continually excited about the Switch? Not even that they have to, because the Switch, we always talk about it. It just continues to break all records possible. But still, you've got to give something for your fans, so I'm sure they've got to have something up their sleeve. Do we finally see something from Metroid Prime 4 ever? Or a Metroid Prime trilogy remake? I mean, anything to do with Samus at all? Well,
No.
I love when we talk about Nintendo, everyone kind of sighs. It's like
Nintendo is incredible, and they have such an amazing pool of IP.
But they suck, Miles. Let's just get it out there.
They're
the
don't
worst.
Suck. They don't,
and they're so great, but they're the worst.
As a longtime Nintendo fan, yes, it is frustrating to follow them right now. Yeah. Obviously, they're still dominating the casual space. The Switch is selling hand over fist, doing incredibly well every month, despite the fact that there are no huge big games releasing for it, and there's no huge games on the horizon at all. Their biggest games have been in limbo for the longest time: Breath of the Wild 2, Metroid Prime 4. What I'm expecting from Nintendo is not going to be that exciting for most people. What I'm expecting from Nintendo is potentially the Metroid Prime collection coming out this fall. They're saying, hey, we're still working on Metroid Prime 4. It's coming out not soon. Here is a collection to tide you over in the meantime. We didn't release that last year because we knew we still had a ways to go. So this will give you a year to play through all the Metroid Primes. Right. Maybe next fall we'll revisit this conversation. Breath of the Wild 2, I expect to see a trailer. Same deal. It's not coming anytime soon. Maybe March, maybe later in next year. But here are some remasters of some other games to celebrate the 25th anniversary of Zelda to tide you over while we finish this game. And that's what I'm expecting from Nintendo.
And you only have 37 minutes on a specific date to purchase them, or you're screwed. That's going to be what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And also, if you want actual basic functionality, you have to buy 13 amiibos. And
do we even want to get into it?
I'm not going to get into it. Kiss my ass, Nintendo. Give me something new and fresh. How about that? I'm so tired of talking about these dudes.
The best part is only Nintendo. We say, you know how many times we say only Nintendo could get away with this? They're releasing a remake of a game they released a decade ago for the same amount of money. Actually, it's more money, right? Then they're releasing a controller you have to pay extra for, which you could get in a bundle originally. And now they come out and say, by the way, buy this $20 amiibo too if you want to fast travel. And guess what? The amiibo is sold out. It is the #1 best-selling gaming item on Amazon right now.
Unbelievable.
Feels good. Feels good.
I'm very, very done with Nintendo, and I'm just done with them. Like, this is not a, only Nintendo could get away with it. No, they stopped getting away with it for me. I hit a point with them, and that sucks because they've made some of my favorite games. I love Breath of the Wild. I love the Switch's premise. I mean, I think now it wouldn't hold up as well, but at the time it was just so great, and I'm just done with them. I'm done with them. That sucks.
Let me see your Amazon purchase history then.
Yeah. Which time was it?
Did you buy 3D All-Stars?
Did you? Because I stood my ground. I didn't buy
Miles.
I stood my ground.
I have an unopened physical copy downstairs that I thought I was going to play with my brother, and then I was disgusted with it. I bought it, and I'm just disgusted with it. Why? Why am I upset with it? I'm just done. Whatever. It's just sitting there. And thankfully, it'll probably pay for, I don't know, my retirement if I just don't open it. It's so stupid. Artificial stuff, blue ocean strategies. I'm just done with them. That sucks. I'm so upset about it. But because I don't want to rag on them, and they certainly don't need my money, right? They certainly don't need me. I'm not their guy.
Yeah. But I think the point we've all made multiple times over here is we don't want to feel this way about Nintendo. Like, we all grew up with Nintendo. We all have this deep nostalgic love for Nintendo and their games and systems and everything. Just they treat their fans like garbage, and I don't understand it. By the way, Steve said, I'm going to start leaking Season Gaming DMs about this topic. We got to shut it down, guys.
Shut it down.
Shut the whole thing down right now, because if that comes out, we're getting canceled. That's for sure. But no, so many people talk about this all the time, and it's just, you can hear the frustration in our voices when we talk about it, because it's like, they're making billions and billions and billions of dollars of profit. It's literally in their financial statement. Their profit margin in fiscal year 2021 was the highest it's ever been. Where is the investment back to your fans? It's just it's so strange to me, guys. So
Pac-Man
strange.
99. Is that worth it? Is that worth?
Yeah, we got a Mario from 85 that you can play in multiplayer. Like, what are we doing? Like, who's coming up with these ideas?
It hurts. I'm an idiot. I love Pokemon way too much to boycott them outright. So I'll buy whatever Pokemon nonsense they put out. I'll buy whatever the next Zelda is. But that Mario 3D All-Stars collection, no. Laziest port I've ever seen in my life.
I remember which one that was.
That was Super Mario 64 Galaxy.
It was the one they
Sunshine.
stopped selling in March.
Yeah, I avoided that too. I feel pretty good.
I bought it because I wanted to play Sunshine. I'd never gotten to play Sunshine, and apparently they still didn't have the invert controls ready.
Nope.
You kidding me right now?
Yeah, it wasn't even 60 FPS. These games are Nintendo 64 games that run like they did on the Nintendo 64. What are you doing? Why are you charging $60 for that and then only a limited window? It's again, I love Nintendo, but
they do not deserve the passes that they are now getting. They did it one time. They really did it one time, but I'm over it. Sony's making better at AAA games than they are. Xbox is making better services and experiences. So I'm done. But they don't care because Luke Lohr is not their market. I mean, this is just not right. Like it's for kids, and we're content creators for adults, and that's the difference. Well, I say adults loosely. I'd sooner go kiss Bad Bit's mom than buy another Nintendo product at this point.
I thought you did that because you left your jacket over there.
Not on the lips, Dan.
Oh,
yeah, come on, man.
He's a gentleman.
Dicks or it never happened. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna buy Mario Golf. In whatever a month or two, 100% because I'm an idiot. But I love Mario Golf. However, it would be nice to be able to play that, on a stable online platform that I could talk to my friends seamlessly on. Unfortunately, and I'm sorry, Ains, come September, no more, Nintendo Online, because we're on the. Did I get you on the?
I am. I'm on your family account.
My family
and I have
right?
used it. This is not a joke.
I know.
It's been how long? A year and a half, something like that?
A year and a half, 2 years.
I've used it one time.
That's one more time than I have, and and that's the problem, So I'm like, I don't even know what the hell to do with it. And now, I don't even know what to do with Nintendo. I'm like so frustrated with these guys. I just want, I want the Metroid Prime trilogy remake, but unfortunately, like Miles kind of said, it's probably not going to be anything spectacular. It's just going to be a ported over piece of shit. Is basically what it's going to be, and I don't even know anymore.
720p, 30 FPS. Let's go.
I love that this started as, what do you think Nintendo's going to do this summer? And we've devolved it into another Nintendo rant, which we do often.
God, I hate these guys.
It's rough because Xbox especially and PlayStation are doing a much better job right now of catering to their fans, giving their fans value, fighting for their fans' dollars. Where Nintendo
and pushing forward with ideas, right? They're bringing new things to the industry.
Nintendo doesn't have to. Clearly, they don't have to. So, again, I don't know. I'm not in their position. Like Steam. Like Steam was just Valve was just coasting for years and years, and they didn't have to do anything. They were just sitting by, making a ton of money, doing nothing. And Nintendo is doing more than Valve, objectively, doing a lot more than Valve. But they're still, some of these projects are minimal effort, and they're still making a ton of money. So as a business, why would you adjust that until something changes? If you can put out 3D Mario All-Stars as a limited release and put in next to no effort and just basically run an emulation of these games, and it sells, it's the #1 product on Amazon, why not?
It's the weirdest business model, right? Like normally, if you go to a restaurant and all of a sudden, somebody reports that there was salmonella and, they got salmonella poisoning from eating a steak there, what's going to happen? People are going to try to avoid that restaurant. It doesn't matter. They can salmonella the crap out of people and everybody will continue to eat there. And Nintendo's stupid, disgusting buffet of ports. It's so gross and I can't deal with it anymore.
Hey, can I get us out of here for a second? Dream announcements for E3, Titanfall 3. Jedi Fallen Order 2, and
you just took a whole left turn. I like it.
Whoa.
I'm just trying to end on a positive note here.
I know.
I don't want to talk about Nintendo. I'm excited.
We're good. The only other thing, let me shout this out real quick, Luke, and then we'll get to that. Just for awareness, I wanted to share, because I hadn't seen this until I went to Summer Game Fest, is that Steam Next Fest, talking about Valve, is actually right after all of these shows on June 16th, and they're apparently going to have hundreds of new demos for games that you can play on Steam for new stuff coming out. So be aware of that. It's June 16th. And then EA Play, like we said a couple of weeks ago, for whatever reason, is all the way in July 22nd. So they're doing this show a month after all the event. But we have heard Battlefield 6 will be in June, and I think, at the Xbox showcase. But we've already covered that. So to your point, Luke, we've covered a lot of the show, what's coming up in the summer for all these big events. To wrap up our final topic here, go for it. Start us off. Titanfall 3, I heard you say.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of dream announcements, and it always tends to happen on these shows as we lead up in that dry period of news. I really hope that we see somehow, some way through these events in the summer, some news on Titanfall 3. I really loved the resurgence of Titanfall 2 positivity that came out over the last month or so. That is just one of my favorite games and franchises. Shout out to Apex for finally recognizing some of its Titanfall lineage in recent times. I really want to see Fallen Order 2, and I think it's amusing that both the games are Respawn, that I'm really hopeful for some information on. I just really want some good vibes and good feelings. And in a year where gaming has really gotten us through, and it's really gone through its own trials and tribulations, crunch and all types of things, I want people to be able to leave these showcases feeling good about their purchases and some excitement coming forward, because I don't want another show where I'm seeing something that I'm thrilled about, Halo Infinite, and then everybody's trying to dunk on. That's not fun, right? Like, that's not fun. I love video games, and I want to leave happy and excited the way I did in 2019. I really thought 2019 shows were great.
Yeah,
I want more from that.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. In fact, I'm usually very positive about these shows. I hated the Twitch thing they did, Xbox. That just didn't work for me. But generally speaking, with game shows, if I'm seeing, just games, I'm excited. So I think it's going to be a good time no matter what. So, Miles, man, if you could, what would be your kind of, to Luke's point, what would be your dream announcement? Okay. Something we haven't even heard, or is it a game we know about, or is it something we don't know about?
So let me preface this by saying this isn't stuff that I know about. This isn't like me trying to sneak anything out there in case Reddit wants to go wild.
You heard the leaks first here, folks. Go
for it. These are help me will a couple things into existence. I'm going to hit you
Thieves
with 3 things that would just completely reinvigorate Xbox Game Studios and their portfolio. Number 1, Phantom Dust reboot, co-developed by the Coalition. Experts in multiplayer, experts in third person. They look at the Phantom Dust IP. They understand the untapped potential that's there. And they say, Phil, we know you love Phantom Dust. Phil, we're going to make you proud. And the Coalition is going to take that IP and make it the amazing multiplayer, arena-based deck building game that it could be, that would absolutely crush in this day and age. Phantom Dust was like 15 years ahead of its time when it comes to like a multiplayer foundation and multiplayer game. So bring it back, please.
Fair enough.
Number 1. All right. Number 2, Dead Rising reboot.
Yeah.
Capcom partners with Xbox, and Capcom partners specifically with Undead Labs to make and reboot a darker, grittier version of Dead Rising. Boom. Too perfect to not exist. And number 3, Konami is in the process of,
here we go,
partnering with teams to refresh and revitalize their iconic IP. Konami sees the value of Xbox Game Studios. And Ninja Theory pitches a Castlevania reboot in the vein of God of War 2018 to Konami. And Ninja Theory develops a third-person, open-world Metroidvania in the Castlevania license.
Castlevania.
Boom.
I'm in.
There we go. That's it. Help me will into existence. And if it happens, then I predicted it and I
I'm
knew about it
clipping
all
out
along.
only the things in the middle there, so you can. It could be a leak from
Yeah,
Miles.
say,
on Twitter.
Okay.
Reddit.
Okay, perfect.
You get all the hits.
Would appreciate that. I still have people like getting mad because I leaked that From Software was making a sci-fi RPG for Xbox, but it was me talking about wild video game conspiracy theories, and that was one of the ones I mentioned. But
Well, that's
there's still
essentially
a contingent of people who are like, he leaked this and he was wrong. But no.
At least they link you in the articles, you know.
At least I know you're not calling me out.
Yeah.
Luke, I think he won up your simple, mundane Titanfall 3 expectation. As much as I would love a Titanfall 3, I think
Mundane.
another Titanfall is inevitable. I hope,
Mhm.
just because of how beloved that IP is. But man, you got me hyped thinking about the potential for a Castlevania with some Ninja Theory kind of influence on it and proper funding.
Let's go, Konami, make it happen. All right, get your shit together.
I was going to say, when you said Konami, the other kind of conspiracy or want or whatever you want to call it out there right now, right? Especially given the whole Kojima thing with the Xbox, thing and behind Phil Spencer, is that Xbox has licensed Metal Gear, and would Kojima actually take on? And I think the bigger question is, even if Xbox licensed Metal Gear, and even if they signed a deal or could sign a deal with Kojima to work on Metal Gear, would Kojima even want to? Because part of his thing, one, it would still be giving credit to Konami, which obviously there's tons of bad blood there, right? Because Konami still owns the license. But two, part of his thing with his studio was new IP and new experiences and broadening out. He had done Metal Gear for so long. So I know a lot of people have had this kind of conspiracy thing of, Xbox is working with Kojima, Konami's licensing their stuff. That means Kojima, Metal Gear, Xbox, it's a done deal. And I'm like, I don't know if that's true. It'd be crazy. I agree, but I just don't know if that would ever come to fruition, if Kojima would even want to do that.
I think there's Kojima Xbox validity somewhere. I don't think it's Metal Gear related, though.
Agreed.
No, I don't think like you said, I don't think Kojima has any interest. And I don't think Phil Spencer approaches Kojima, which those have been the conversations, and I'm sure we'll see something about those conversations sometime in the near future. But I don't think the conversations are, hey, you want to work on Metal Gear again? I know you have a new team. We're trying to get people in. You want to do this? I guarantee the pitch from Phil was, all right, we understand what you want to do. We understand your vision. You want to take risks. You want to make big, bold games. Did PlayStation, give you enough? Was that the right place to do it? We have this vessel called Xbox Game Pass where you can try these new ideas. You can experiment with different things, and there's 100%. Not this stress of selling X number of copies. So your creativity, your vision here has a better chance of getting to a wider audience because there's not this $60 barrier attached to these more artsy projects, realistically. So I'm sure that was the pitch from Phil. Hey, this is what we can offer. 100%. Let's jump on board. We'll give you a lot of money to be weird, and that's all you need to do. Make games and be weird, and here's some money. And I don't imagine that Kojima denied that offer, but
100% agree. Said very similar comments previously as well. As it's Xbox Game Pass. I think we talked about this on Cast Co-op, didn't we, Luke? Xbox Game Pass is a tremendous vehicle for creativity.
Absolutely.
Because it removes some of the risk of being creative in this space. And Kojima is a poster child for that. So what I would like to see is, we'll throw it out. This will be mine because I hadn't thought about this before you mentioned it, Luke, honestly. But as we're kind of talking about this topic, is do everything we just said. Let Kojima work with Xbox, make a Game Pass, give resources, let his department work on it. Take Silent Hill. Give me a Silent Hill reboot with some Kojima craziness in it, and give me a proper horror game that he's always wanted to create and never got the opportunity to. That's my wish.
Great if they can get it. I feel like that'd be a Sony thing, but great for anybody that gets it, for sure.
Yeah, shit. I don't care where it lands. Just give it to me.
Same boat. I don't care. With Konami, I don't care who buys them, who publishes the game. Just please take it away from Konami. That's all I ask. I don't care who it is. Just please, someone make a good version of any of their IP.
Yeah, no doubt. Dan, you got one? Give us a crazy wish other than Tunic eventually releasing.
Yeah, I mean, I played the demo. It's fantastic. All right, so like way out there,
Dream World. Yeah, Dream World.
Parasite Eve. Maybe not a remake, but like just go back to Parasite Eve, and I'll take a remake at this point. I want that so bad. I don't know why. I feel like it's a big enough IP, and I feel like it did well enough back in the day where, and people remember it, or either that, or it's just me.
It's talked about pretty often, honestly, for as old as it is.
It seems like it was, and that's a horror genre. That's something that I'm not gonna normally play. That I will play 100%. Aside from that, I'd love to see some BioShock.
Yes.
Stuff.
Well, we know that's coming. I mean,
we know you're right. Yeah, and then something from like Ken Levine. So kind of those, you can put those kind of together. Something from him. The guy is super pretentious, I feel like, and weird, but kind of Kojima like, but his stuff is so good, and so I will forgive. Ooh, shit! Excuse me. Ooh, I know where that Dr. Pepper, boys. But I need to get some Tums, man. Holy shit. But yeah, something from Ken Levine, whatever that may be.
Yeah, I don't know.
What pretentious guy.
You kind of nailed home the point.
Yep.
You did.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
Perfect. By the way, we got a super chat from Bigoteers Blue. Thanks for coming out, man. Appreciate it. $5 super chat. Quick question for everyone. What are your most wanted games to get an FPS boost outside of the common answers like Rise and Sunset? Overdrive.
Arkham Origins.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
I'll go with that one.
I just want more Arkham. I just want him back.
Yeah, mine is Sunset Overdrive. So
That's a weird omission. That one's really, I don't even understand, unless there's like a fundamental issue with the engine, because that is an Xbox franchise or Xbox published game. So there's no publisher interference, which has kind of been the hurdle for some titles. But yeah, why not Sunset? Why?
I don't know. I really want that one. I haven't honestly thought about what other games I would want, because most of the big franchises I love, be it Halo, be it Gears, etc., they have the focus already, right? We saw Prey would have been one of mine.
How about Red Dead Redemption 2?
Yeah,
there you go.
That's a big one. Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption 2. Give me that at 60 FPS and I'll disappear for 3 months again.
Exactly. That's exactly what would happen.
I've been standing for Dark Souls 3 for a long time, because that's one that's 900p 30 FPS, and it's the best Dark Souls, and it runs and looks the worst on Xbox Series X right now, which hurts a little bit. But I have a feeling that's probably a Bandai thing. That's probably we're going to sell you that Ashen edition here real soon. So
the funny thing about Dark Souls 3 too, I don't know if you know, but it's better than Bloodborne. Did you know that?
I had heard that was a fact, that some people have, kind of like the flat earthers that have not accepted.
Yeah, I did. When I streamed Souls recently, I did on PC, and it was 1080. I can play it in 1440, but 1080 60, and man, it's a world of difference. I bought it on PC for that same reason. Yeah, it's night and day. Yeah, no doubt.
Titanfall 2 was my FPS boost game, and I will say, as more people start adopting better monitors that can display 120, you will find that FPS boost is a huge boon for the system. One that I didn't think was that big a deal until I saw it in real time. And then once I saw it, it made all the difference, which is great for game preservation, because it helps keep games the way you remember them longer. So I just wanted to jump that in with that. Felt out of place now that I've said it.
You should. Well, try having some indigestion right before you even worse.
Mr. Babbitt, real question. Will 60 FPS make RDR2 fun? Joe, so I've had enough slander about RDR2. We're gonna take care of this. Somehow.
Miles, you want to be in cast co-op? We got an opening.
I was gonna say, I thought people knew that the best video games are not supposed to be fun. All right, that's
true.
That's how it works. Exactly.
Super chat from my brother Hassan, out and about, dropping by to say hi. Hassan, thank you so much for 999 super chat. And to get real serious for a second, Hassan's family is in Palestine. So serious. Be thankful for the ceasefire. Let's hope this is done with for now, in the vein that it was going on. His family is safe. We did learn the other day. So if you haven't paid attention to what's going on over there, especially if you have the means to help in any way that you can help. Please do, because it's we've been talking in another chat about it. It's horrific on the most grandest of levels. So yeah, please don't disregard it, and just flash by clips on Twitter or the news and disregard them, because there's people that are being seriously impacted. Like I said, as horrible as it can possibly be. So shout out Hassan, thanks man. So yeah, sorry to get all serious, but Hassan made me think of it for that.
Hey Ains, are we still doing the stuff, the donations and everything?
Yeah, so we're actually on the tail end. So this week in our merchandise shop, thank you, Dan. SG merchandise is 15% off, free shipping, and 100% of all the profit. We usually donate it to Able Gamers and Special Effect for charity gaming. This week we're donating it to Medical Aid for Palestinians. So please, check that out if you just want to pimp out the SG stuff. I don't even really care so much about that. I definitely appreciate it, but it's more about just doing it for the right reasons.
Right.
So, yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get us out of here. This has been a fantastic show. Seriously, this is a real fun conversation. A lot of things I didn't even really plan on touching on. We may have to apologize for the Nintendo rant. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? I think it was necessary to get it out. We've got a lot of things coming this week. Like I said, Biomutant, a lot to say on it. Monday morning, review, tips, a bunch of other things, screenshots, gameplay. Just stay tuned. A lot on it. If you haven't caught it yet, there's an industry perspective chat out there with Chris Johnston, friend of Luke and Joe's, and now mine, thankfully. Super nice guy. Very, very genuine, and someone who's been in the gaming industry for a very long time. He worked at Electronic Gaming Monthly when he was 17. He actually used to write the Quarterman articles, believe it or not, which when he told me that, my mind blew, because I read those as a kid. And he runs secondplayer.net. He Player One podcast. He's been gaming podcasting since 2006. So he's been doing this a very long time. So check that out. It's a great conversation. Cast Co-op episode 5. We already plugged it. Luke did a good job of that. Joe's on it. Sorry about that. But outside of Joe, just mute him. You can listen to Luke and I chatter. That's out there. If you check that out, I'd appreciate it. And then lastly, stay tuned, because there is a huge, the biggest guest I've had yet on industry perspectives, and it's going to tie into our Good in Gaming initiative this week about accessibility and some other aspects. It'll be a very good one. It's taken a long time to come together. So please stay tuned for that. Should launch Thursday. So keep an eye out for it. But guys, chat, you've been awesome. Thank you to all the new faces. Great to see some new people here. Really appreciate you stopping by. Let me, Miles, man, thanks for coming on. It's been a serious pleasure, man. We got to chat more often. I'm glad we were finally able to do a show together. But let people know where they can find you, man.
Yeah. Thanks so much for letting me hang out and chat with you guys. I know we've been working on this for a while, have some overlap with our shows, but I was excited to take some time and hang out. Had a blast. I'll keep my plug short and sweet. Windows Central Gaming, I've been typing in the chat here. If you want to follow us on YouTube, that's where most of my work goes. And then if you want to harass me about Bloodborne or send me awful gaming memes, just hit me up on Twitter at Miles Dompier over there. So
very good. Luke, where can they find Mr. Xbox Expansion Pass?
You can find me on Twitter at Insipid Ghost, and you can find the Xbox Expansion Pass on all your podcast services. Trying to work on getting some iTunes reviews if anyone is willing or able. It'd be amazing. And then, of course, a member of Cast Co-op as well. But really and truly, thank you guys for listening and supporting. It means a lot.
Perfect. Potassium. Doing all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'll be here next week. So that's where you can find Dan. Potassium Stan.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you, everyone, again for tuning in. It's been fun. That was Bitcast 155. We will catch you next Saturday with a new round of guests. Peace.